Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. It is Tuesday, January 21st, 8:45 a.m. And today is the first official day of the stock market being open underneath President Donald Trump. Today marks a new change in terms of the trajectory for America. Whether that change will be positive or negative, we have another 4 years to find out. But we are officially here. This is now Trump's America. This is Trump's presidency. And the stock market is opening today underneath his second term as the 47th president of the United States. We had inauguration yesterday. That was a big day. Talked about a lot of different things, executive orders. Last night, he signed a bunch of executive orders. Nothing on crypto yet, and we'll get to that in a bit. But overall, it was a pretty exciting day, I would say, for some people. For other people, they were not as excited. Nonetheless, he is now the president of the United States of America, and we are going to see the impacts of his policies on the stock market. Now, before we get into all the stuff we got to get into, if we just take a look at the pre-market so far, and it's going to be volatile, and we're going to talk about why it's going to be volatile based on the things he said last night that immediately got markets to go the other way. But now it's like the markets kind of forgot about it. They priced it in. It's a lot of narratives fighting against each other. Markets are up in the pre-market pretty aggressively. Markets are up. If you woke up this morning and you looked at your phone, you looked at your brokerage account, you're probably seeing some green. This bad boy, Mr. Hoodie, is at $50.13 right now in the pre-market. At one point, it was at $50.50. So it's up 4% in the pre-markets, surpassing the $50 barrier, which is pretty damn incredible. Obviously, Robinhood, the thesis is strong on that. We'll talk more about Robinhood later throughout the day. But all of this crypto momentum we're seeing with the Trump meme coin, with Bitcoin, et cetera, I think the market's realizing that this means Robinhood probably can grow another 30% in 2025 off of tough comps from 2024, which if they do that, means that Robinhood still at these levels is relatively cheap. So $50 on Robinhood, that's incredible. You got Grab up 2.44%. We'll talk about why. I think it's mainly because the 10-year and the dollar are starting to show a little bit of weakness. Tempest AI, we'll talk about Nancy. That's up 18%. Nancy Pelosi just bought this stock, and that's probably why it's up. SoFi's up 2.4%. Intel's up 3%. Nvidia's up 1%. Coinbase up 0.5%. Tesla, that got upgraded today, by the way, from 300 to 515 by Piper Sandler. We'll talk about that in a little bit. That's up 2%. And then you got Bitcoin. MicroStrategy did buy another 11,000 Bitcoin this morning. We'll talk more about that in a second. Bitcoin, 104,000. We haven't had a sustained 104,000 run in a while. I know yesterday we got to 109,000 for like 20 minutes, and then it tanked all the way back down to 100,000. But now we're back at 104, even without Trump issuing any executive orders on Bitcoin yesterday. And the market is obviously getting very excited for the overall growth of the U.S. economy, more liquidity, which leads to more momentum for Bitcoin. So there we go. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to get into. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Let's get into it. I'm Beneficial, William, John, what's up? Scott, June, Quarantine, Quartet, Dylan, Byron, thank you all for being here this morning. Thiago, what's up? Nolan, Polly, Maddie B, Gene, good morning. Andy, shout out to you. My brother, he was at this meetup. I'll talk about that more in a second, but thank you for being here, Andy. Gary Wilson, what's up? Lakeside, Elizabeth, Broccoli, Bob, good morning. Jonathan, Jimmy Edwards. Dude, Jimmy Edwards sounds like a guitar player. And I know I'm referencing kind of Jimi Hendrix right there, but Edwards definitely sounds like the name of a guitar player after the name Jimmy. I love it. Joshua Storm, what's up? Charles, Chase, good morning. Everybody, thank you for being here. All right, so we're going to get started real quick before we get started. And I talked about this yesterday on the inauguration stream. And I'll talk about this more in depth at the end of the market open because I definitely do want to, just recap on how the weekend was. But I had the first meetup of 2025 in New York City. And I'm not going to talk too much about it because I'm going to get into a tangent. But it was just one of the most incredible meetups of my life. I did not expect it to go as well as it went. And it went pretty damn well. I mean, so shout out to everyone who came out to that. I did not expect the kind of turnout that we had. I think it was at 45 to 50 people at its max. And it was incredible. We went bar crawling through New York City. A lot of people came. The diversity of people was just crazy. You had older women. You had kids who were 20 years old. I mean, just everyone was there from different walks of life, different experiences. And it was incredible. It was just absolutely incredible. So we will be doing this a lot more throughout 2025. This gave me a very good framework to understand how to conduct these meetups in the future. This was like a really good case study. And usually a case study goes kind of shitty, so you learn from your mistakes. honestly, we got very lucky that we found a bar that gave us 5 hours of just like uninterrupted time in a private lounge. So we got really lucky on this one, but also the fact that the people were so amazing that showed up also made it very lucky. And it was just incredible. It was just incredible. Very, 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 very humbled and grateful for all the people that showed up. And I think we're building one of the most authentic communities in the world that has the ability to scale far beyond what we think it is. And these in real life person events to me, just as a networking event for all of us to connect with each other, because so many people at the end of the event told me that they just don't have family and friends to talk to about this stuff. But at this event, whether it was Palantir, Robinhood, selling options, like everyone was able to talk about anything. And that's because, you know, it's all like-minded people in one place. So super awesome. Thank you for everyone who showed up. Andy, thank you for being there. It was awesome. We got a super chat from the Jersey Guido, aka Mr. GE. He finally changed his name because when I saw him in person, I'm like, you're not a GE, you're a Jersey Guido. That's what you look like. So thank you for the $10, Jersey Guido. Appreciate it. Thank you for being there at the meetup. And thank you for being part of the community. All right, let's get started with the market open. We got a lot to talk about. I think we'll start off with macro. So first off, the 10-year's down. The 10-year is finally down in the way that we needed to get down. And when I mean down, I mean we're back at 4.5, folks. Look at that, 4.566. Nicely down from 4.8 literally last Tuesday. Obviously, we got CPI data, which was incredible, and that helped us get this 10-year to start falling. It's hard to be incredibly bearish when you see something like the 10-year fall as aggressively as it's falling. Now, the dollar is not falling as nicely as the 10-year, but the dollar is coming down 108.5. It was at 110 last Tuesday as well. The thing that is very volatile about this, and then I have a lot of charts that I want to show that are highlighting kind of the broader macroeconomic bull case right now, is that this dollar spiked yesterday when Trump said on February 1st, last night at approximately like 8:15, he said on February 1st, they're going to put a 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico. As soon as he said that, the NASDAQ futures fell off a cliff, the dollar spiked, and it was one of those things where it's like, okay, so the market is obviously telling everybody they do not like tariffs. And because they do not like tariffs, they are willing to take the macro in the context of the dollar to higher highs if they think that the tariffs are going to be inflationary. Now, whether you believe the tariffs are going to be inflationary or not is irrelevant to what the macro thinks or what the market thinks. Eventually, we'll find out how inflationary or not inflationary they are. But the market's telling us they don't like tariffs. Even Trump, during his speech in the inauguration, when he mentioned tariffs, the market got upset about that. And we saw a little bit of volatility. We saw Bitcoin take a dip, all that stuff. So I'm conflicted on if tariffs are actually going to be positive or not. Like, I think there's a bull case for why we need tariffs. But in terms of like the dollar and the 10-year, so far they're saying they don't like tariffs. So I don't think that's necessarily an issue because earnings are what matter. And we're going to talk more about how earnings matter. We had a bunch of earnings this morning. We have a bunch of earnings after the bell. We have United, Netflix, a bunch of stuff. But if we are paying attention to those two indicators, the 10-year and the dollar, then we're going to have to pay attention to how Trump implements tariffs or how he talks about tariffs, or if it's really just a bargaining tactic and not an actual policy, because I do think that's going to have an impact on how the market reacts to it. So that's just something we got to keep our eyes on. But outside of the dollar, you know, kind of still staying elevated, markets really liking the momentum from Trump. And here's some analysis to kind of prove why the market's liking this momentum from Trump. Let's take a look at some of these charts. From Bank of America, investors cut their allocation to bonds to the lowest since October 2022. I know we have a lot of money in money market funds, and last week we did see 60 billion leave in outflows from money market funds. So we are seeing some money come out of the sidelines, but still, if we have the lowest allocation to bonds since October 2022, which is when we bottomed in terms of the 2022 bear market and people started buying equities. If we are October 2022 inside of January 2025, we've got a lot higher to go. Now, this chart doesn't necessarily say that's the case, but still, it's one of those signals of like, okay, so investors are saying that bonds are not where they want to be. Maybe they want to be in equities simply because bond yields are not going to be as competitive with long-term stock returns. Then here's another chart right here. This is Goldman Sachs Global Strategy Conference Survey. They asked people what is likely to be the best performing asset class. 68% of the people they surveyed said stocks. You had 19% say commodities, 10% say bonds, 3% say credit, 1% said cash. And that's very interesting because in 2024, only 42% of people said that equities would be the best performing asset class. Now 68%. You can interpret that as bearish because everyone's super bullish and therefore you want to go the other way. Or you can interpret that as animal spirits are absolutely back. Stanley Druckenmiller was on CNBC yesterday talking about that as well. And if those animal spirits are back, this is one of the reasons why Robinhood's catching a bid right now. The market's like, all right, everyone's going to start trading again on Robinhood in particular, and that's going to fuel their growth. That is one of the reasons for why we're seeing the pre-markets and the broader markets do well in January. Here is another chart that was very important from Goldman Sachs. President Trump's Inauguration Day policy announcements on tariffs were more benign than expected, even if the market's very volatile towards the specifics of what he says sometimes in press conferences. And they said, we are lowering our odds of a roughly 20% tariff hike on imports from China from 90% to 70%, but maintain it as the base case. So Goldman Sachs is saying, hey, stocks are still pretty damn good, even if you assume there's going to be tariff hikes, but we are lowering the probability that Trump's going to be as intense with the tariffs on China in particular, like he said he was going to be in the campaign trail. And then here's the last chart right here. Actually, we got two more charts. USA is 67% of the global stock market as President Trump returns to the White House. So for all the international investors, the reason they're piling money into U.S. companies, the Max 7, is because the U.S. is the majority of the stock market. We got Europe that's not really growing as much. Japan's kind of growing. China's actually doing a lot better over the past couple of days. They have some more stimulus that's taking into effect. But the U.S. is where you want to be. I mean, it's just the place you want to be if you want to get money compounding in the stock market. And then finally, I know earnings are just getting started, but here's what Bank of America said. While still early, reported companies beat consensus EPS by 10%, double the 5% beat at this time last quarter. So Q4 earnings are already beating by 10%. This time in Q3, last quarter, we were only beating by 5%. The banks are firing on all cylinders. AI CapEx likely continues. Signs of manufacturing recovery are also getting stronger. Netflix is reporting today. United's reporting today. Charles Schwab, MMM reported today. They had good earnings. We'll look at that in a second. But so far, S&P 500 companies are beating on earnings. And as long as they continue to beat and continue to guide higher for a beat, we're probably going to see more momentum from the earnings market right now. So pretty exciting to see a lot of this momentum that we're getting right now. Shout out to Farzad. Thank you for being here, my brother. Too legit to quit. Love you, bro. Thank you for being here, being part of the show. I did a podcast on Farzad's channel like a week ago that was posted, and we talked about Elon, FSD, all that good stuff. So you guys can check that out if you want to hear me talk about my revelation with FSD. Rango says, I think the only reason we are not tanking on this tariff talk is that the market trusts people in the cabinet. You know, that is a fair point. Scott Bessent, although he is bullish on tariffs, I think he is very properly, and if you watch the confirmation hearing, navigating how he talks about the idea of tariffs. And so I do agree with that. Like Trump, flat out said yesterday, we're going to do 25% tariffs on February 1st. And as like part of the reason the market's probably not down right now is because they just don't believe that. And they probably don't believe that because they think his cabinet members might not allow it to be that quick. Sachin says tariffs doesn't exist in a silo. The idea of tariffs is eventually to put manufacturing on track in the USA so it triggers sentiment other places and for consumer taxes to have to be cut to balance it. I agree. And this is why I think the market is so volatile in the context of tariffs is like there might be a lot of benefits to it. When you look at the cost benefit analysis, there might be a lot of cost to it, which outweigh the benefits, but no one really knows. Like no one really knows because we don't know exactly what Trump's mandate is going to be. Is it going to be 25%? Is it going to be 5%? Is it really just a bargaining tactic? And so as for now, the market's like, okay, fine. We're not going to like go crazy and spike the 10-year back up to 5% on the idea that tariffs are going to be inflationary. But every time he mentions it, the market gets scared. And so that will be something that I think we have to watch out for no matter what going into the next at least the next 4 weeks, definitely over the next 4 months as Trump gets into his first 100 days. We can't do the bell for Hood yet, guys. The market's got to open. We can't do a pre-market bell. We got to get 50 when the market opens. We never do a pre-market bell. The market's got to open. We got to touch it when the market opens. And then we will definitely get the bell for Hood. But $50 is pretty incredible. And one of Hood's competitors, Schwab, had a pretty good earnings as well, which lets you know why the market's probably excited about something like a Hood. Schwab is up, 7%. Schwab doesn't move like that. Schwab doesn't move 7%. That's incredible. So there you go, 80.95 in the pre-markets on Schwab. Robinhood right there, 49.88, up 3.66%. Apple's down. We'll talk about Apple in a second. And then Palantir, 1.95%. So why is Palantir up? I think Palantir's catching a bid off this idea that Trump says he's going to focus really heavily on defense. The executive orders yesterday were pretty massive for Trump. He signed about 100 executive orders, and he officially established Doge. Doge is now a thing. So that was established last night. He signed a bunch of these executive orders, did not do anything on crypto yet, which has some people, wondering when is that coming, but I think it's coming hopefully soon. But Doge officially has been initiated, and Elon is now the leader of that. You guys are saying Vivek stepped down. Is that true? Did Vivek actually step down? Vivek Doge. I heard the rumors of that. Oh yeah, oh yeah. This was he said, it was my honor to help support the creation of Doge. I'm confident that Elon and team will succeed in streamlining the government. I'll have more to say very soon about my future plans in Ohio. Most importantly, we're all in to help President Trump make America great again. Yeah, that sounds like he's not going to be part of it. He is going for governor of Ohio, right? It seems like that's what he's going for. Yeah. All right. So look, I don't think that's a bear case or anything. I think it was good to get the idea up and running. And now Elon will have till July 2026 to be able to enact the reforms that he wants to get enacted. Officially on the Doge documents, it says that the thing will terminate by July 2026. This is the document right here. So the organization will report to White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles. Each federal agency is tasked with setting up a Doge team of at least 4 employees. So that means the IRS, the FDA, all of these guys are going to have like this little Doge consulting for a team of 4 people that are going to be just like, there following along everything that they're doing. They have to do it within 30 days, and the team will typically include 1 engineer, 1 human resource specialist, and 1 attorney, and then 1 team lead. Doge will immediately establish a government-wide software modernization initiative. I mean, who knows if a company that rhymes with Palantir might be involved in that? We will see. And then Doge is established as a temporary organization in accordance with Section 3161 of Title V United States Code. They will terminate on July 4th, 2026. So Elon has about a year and a half to figure this out. And if he can do it effectively, maybe we do end up potentially saving some money. I'm still a bit skeptical on this. Like, look, I really hope it works out. Do I think they're going to save the government massive amounts of money and like get our deficit to a surplus? I just don't know, because you've got Congress, you've got Democrats and Republicans to deal with. Both parties want to spend money like crazy. I would really hope that if every agency has this like Doge consulting partner with them and they can guide them on what to spend, what not to spend, and really shut down stupid expenses, maybe there's a chance this works. I wouldn't doubt Elon, because Elon has put his mind to it. He wants to get things done. Elon has got things done in the past. So if he's able to figure this out, and he was very excited yesterday in his inauguration speech to get the job done, then maybe it becomes a real thing. Also, if it actually does work, I feel like Doge could get extended to become like a legit agency and like be one of the hall monitors to literally micromanage all the money we spend. Because at this point, we need a hall monitor because this debt is unsustainable. And like, we cannot have $50 trillion in debt one day. Right now we're at 36 trillion. So maybe it actually does play out long term. Maybe it does. All right, so that's what we had in the context of the macro. Lots of amazing stuff that we're seeing in terms of earnings growth. We'll talk more about earnings in a bit. Real quick on earnings, we did have Schwab, which we talked about. They're up 7%. They beat on EPS and revenue. Let me actually pull this up real quick just to get the actual numbers. 3MM, they beat revenue by 0.5% and then EPS by 1.2%. This is their stock right now. I think they're up. MMM, they are up, wow, up 4%. Okay, so the market likes it. Again, these are big companies that don't move that much. And then we had another one report today outside of Schwab. We had DHI, DR Horton. That one, wow, beat revenue by 7%, EPS by 10%. This is a home builder. That one doesn't move that often either. That's up 3%. And that's up 3% because KB Home also showed really good home building momentum. So even though housing starts are not as strong as they were a couple years ago, even though they are the strongest they've been since March 2021, March 2019, they were at all-time highs. We are still seeing home building start to catch a little bit of a bid. And maybe this is the sector, as inflation comes down, particularly shelter inflation comes down, the 10-year comes down, mortgage rates comes down. Maybe that's a sector that catches a bid. I know Tom Lee does like the home builders as one of those sectors that's been kind of disrespected for the past couple of years because of high rates. And now people start building a lot more houses. Lennar, is Lennar up on this news? Lennar is down 7%. Wow, that's weird. Looks like the market's interpreting DHI's green as Lennar's red. That's weird. You would think they would move together. Interesting. All right, well, DR Horton's up, 3M is up, and then Schwab is up 5% currently right now. Okay, let's talk about Nancy. let's talk about Nancy. So for those that didn't get the news on Nancy, Nancy has made some purchases, and I'm probably going to match Nancy and make some of the same purchases. So $250 to $500,000 of Google. The specifics are $50 contracts with $150 strikes on Google expiring 1/16/26. So in the money call options. Same exact thing on Amazon. 150 strike call options expiring 1/16/26. Then Nvidia, I don't know exactly the strikes on this. I think she just bought shares. She did exercise her contract. So I think she has like 30, 40,000 shares of Nvidia. She did buy Nvidia at 120 in the summer. So Nvidia is not that far off from where she bought it at in the summer. She bought 10,000 shares at 120 back in July of 2024. And then this thing, Tempest AI, healthcare AI startup. She bought about 100,000 of $20 call options. This thing is now $40. It's up 18%. It was at $32 last night, and then it's up now because of Nancy's buy. And then she bought about $1 million of VST. Vistra, this is up 327%. It was one of the best performing stocks last year. It is a data center energy infrastructure play. It looks like, based on what Nancy's saying, from what I'm getting from this, is do not sell your large caps. That's what I'm getting from this. That's what I'm getting. Nancy is saying, hey, I know everyone on TV is telling you to trim your large caps to get into small caps and mid caps and all this stuff. But what I'm seeing, and this is kind of why I like when Congress people trade. I mean, is it a little weird? Yeah, but if we get to see it, I mean, that's kind of all I care about. What I'm seeing from her is her saying, hey, Google's going to keep doing well. Amazon's going to keep doing well. Nvidia has no competition, because if she thought Nvidia was going to have massive competition, or there's going to be these regulatory hurdles and bureaucracy of stopping them from selling into China, yada, yada, she probably wouldn't be as heavy as she is as Nvidia. And then number two, if you're buying Vistra, that thing is already up 320% over the past year. To buy a stock up 320%, you've got to believe that there is going to be massive, massive data center growth, basically what Jensen's thesis has been for the past couple of months now, and that there's going to need to be energy infrastructure to be able to serve all that. That's what I'm getting from Nancy. Now, as Doug says, do not sell your large caps unless it's Apple. She did sell 31,000 shares of Apple. And I mean, look, I've been relatively bearish Apple while acknowledging that Apple will go up with the market, but this is a good segue. Apple's down 2%. Again, Apple doesn't fall 2% that easily. It's had multiple 2% down days over the past week. Why is Apple down? Well, we got a new report on their iPhone sales, and it's not good. It is not good at all. So this is the report we got this morning from Counterpoint Research, which is relatively trustworthy when we looked at Apple. Here's what they said. Apple's iPhone sales in China fell 18.2% during the December quarter. I mean, I saw that number this morning and I was like, wow, that's just not good. Slipping to third place in the market, according to Counterpoint, Huawei reclaimed the top spot, driven by a 15% year-over-year surge. Apple's new AI-enabled iPhone struggled to maintain momentum as key features remain unavailable in China because OpenAI is not available in China. This is something that I remember talking about in July of 2024. It's like, wait a second, what LLM are they going to use? Like, OpenAI is banned. Like, how are they going to use OpenAI? While the company seeks a local partner for AI infrastructure, aka Baidu. So that's going to take time for them to load up Baidu's LLM, if it's even that good, into their iPhones. Globally, iPhone sales dipped 5% for the period. China's smartphone market saw its first quarterly decline in 2024 after steady growth earlier in the year. Apple's having the same problem that Nike's having. Nike sells a lot in China. There is a recession in China right now. And although stimulus is a catalyst, at the end of the day, if people don't have as much money, and we don't even need to talk about the real estate crisis in China, but if people don't have their net worth increasing because Chinese stocks have not gone up and real estate has only gone down, then where are people getting all this disposable income, unless they're very wealthy, which is not the majority of Chinese citizens, to then upgrade their iPhones to the latest model, especially for a remedial upgrade, right? For a little bit of camera features getting better. So it's not in the best situation. And so from that perspective, I do think Apple's going to be in a little bit of a tougher spot. We don't have any new products. The foldable iPad, give me a break. Vision Pro is not a thing. Meta's eating Apple's lunch when it comes to VR. I just don't know what the bull case is. And by the way, this is not just me saying it. We did get a couple of downgrades today on Apple, which is also probably why it's down 2%. So the same firms that we were looking at in October 2024, right before the iPhone came out, that were saying, well, we think there's going to be this super upgrade cycle. Today, they're saying, yeah, we are lowering our price targets. And we're lowering our price targets because we're a little afraid that Apple's not going to be able to hit these growth targets. Here's what Jeffrey said. They lowered their price target from 211 to 200. We had another one go from 275 to 230. The downgrade is driven by expensive valuation at 32 times fiscal year 2025 PE, 1.7 times fiscal year 2025 PEG, and a 15% premium to our long-term DCF estimate. Both near-term and midterm consensus forecasts likely being too optimistic. Our view that consumer feedback on AI functions and smartphones, including Apple Intelligence, will remain muted, and the potential confirmation of delays in Apple's advanced packaging roadmap for iPhone, which may further support an underwhelming outlook for AI on smartphones. Someone says Dan Ives was wrong on this one. This is one I've never agreed with Dan Ives on. Now, look, I don't want to say Dan Ives is wrong because Apple is Apple and they find a way to come forward. So I don't think this is like short Apple by puts on Apple. I think you just can't do that with a company that has $100 billion in cash. It's just Nancy's not buying Apple. She's buying Google's, Amazon, and Nvidia because she sees the growth coming. And I think if she sees the growth coming for them, they're just better Mac 7. She didn't buy Tesla. She didn't buy Microsoft. She didn't buy Meta. She bought Google, Amazon, and Nvidia. And I think I'm going to follow her. I think I'm going to follow her later today. Yeah, they hold too much cash to sell. Yeah, I don't think Apple's ever a sell. You know, like I think Apple's maybe a trim, but if you're long-term Apple, you've been in Apple for a long time. I don't think, you know, Apple's just too important long-term. It's just the question of, is the risk to reward on Apple as good as it is on Amazon or Google or Nvidia? And it's like, I don't know. I just at a 34 PE with 0% growth. Google, Amazon, and Nvidia is growing at least 50%. Google and Amazon are compounding like 15%. You're still getting more growth and bang for your buck instead. But that's what we got in the context of Nancy. Let me know if you guys are following Nancy at all. I think I will today because at this point, I already wanted to get into the Mac 7 this year. You guys know I've been wanting to get exposure to it. I started with Tesla. It's time to get heavier into Mac 7. Nancy was the confirmation I needed to say, you know what? If she's long Mac 7, then she obviously does not see any headwinds. Maybe they're going to be volatile. Maybe they'll come down. But that's why she bought deep in the money call options, because even if they do come down, she's still going to be green. And she thinks that the big keep getting bigger. And I think it's very hard to deny the Mac 7's cash flows, their net incomes, and Apple, Google, and Nvidia. I mean, they're not, or Amazon, Google, and Nvidia. It's not even controversial to buy those names. But Nancy saying that she's long again, to me, just confirms, okay, this is a no-brainer at this point in terms of how she's thinking of the long-term potential on these. Amit, what is your prediction for rate cuts, 3 or 4 or none? I think we at least get 2. I think it's gonna be very hard to only get 3 cuts, especially with CPI falling off a cliff. We looked at automotive prices with Kris the other day. They are falling off aggressively. Excess inventory definitely exists on a lot of these dealerships. That's going to cause prices to come down. Shelter's coming down. On the CPI report, energy was the main source of inflation, not shelter, for the first time in like 5 months. So I think, and what's his name? Christopher Waller on CNBC last week. I mean, dude, the guy was the most dovish you could expect. So again, to kind of wrap up this conversation on the macro, I don't see the bear case, especially with Trump in office, outside of the market going gung-ho about tariffs not being the thing that they want to see from an inflation perspective. Outside of that, it's risk on. It's risk freaking on. And that chart I showed this morning about companies beating earnings estimates by 10%, it's risk on in a way that's justified. Because what's the biggest argument that we heard around New Year's Eve? The market can't justify valuations because earnings growth is declining. Not so far. Earnings growth is up. And I think Nancy's buying Google, Amazon, Nvidia because she's like, earnings are only going to keep going up, which means these valuations are not some egregious, exuberant type of euphoric play on the market. It's rather appropriate for companies that are in a once-in-a-lifetime revolution that are capitalizing on it. And so it seems like that momentum is not dying off anytime soon. Amit, any guesses on Netflix earnings? I have no clue. We'll cover it today after the bell. Look, I've never loved Netflix as a stock, but as a company, they've absolutely outperformed. And, you know, the stock has outperformed as well. They bottomed at 150. Now they're at 858. So I was dumb for not buying it at the time. Didn't see the vision. Nonetheless, is it worth $360 billion? Maybe, maybe not. I think they're going to go subscribers. I think they're going to be fine. Q4 was probably a great sort of holiday season for them. Guidance should be strong. But does this thing go to 1,000 on good earnings today? I don't know. Does it tank to 800 and that's a good buy the dip? I mean, I think it really depends on how much subscriber growth they think they can estimate, along with how much costs they're going to impose on themselves, because Netflix is now making a lot of their own original content. They spend upwards of $15 to $20 billion a year making content. If that price can go down and subscribers can go up, maybe there's an argument where Netflix does well. Netflix trading at a 43 PE, got to get closer to 20% growth to justify that. I think they're just under 20% right now, top line. So that will be important today after the bell. Rocket Lab is up. Rocket Lab got upgraded this morning. Rocket Lab up, wow, 8%. Okay, that's a big one. Rocket Lab got upgraded, I think, by Citibank to 35. Correct me if I'm wrong. And that is why we're seeing some of a run on Rocket Lab. Trump did talk about conquering Mars in his inauguration speech. So I mean, that seems relatively bullish for the space sector. And yeah, Citi upgrading from 22 to 35. That's a pretty big upgrade. If you're going to conquer Mars, I mean, you're probably going to need some companies to help conquer Mars as well. So yes, it does look like Rocket Lab is getting some momentum here as well. Okay, let's take a look at what else we got in the pre-markets, and then we'll look at some other stuff that we've got going on. SoFi currently is at 2.4%, 1690. I am thinking of potentially buying shares on SoFi before earnings just for the hell of it. The only reason is because the chart looks incredible, and we talk about that on Technical Tuesday every day, which today we'll also have Technical Tuesday after earnings. But outside of the chart, this should be the quarter, hopefully, where SoFi doesn't pump and dump, because they're going to have a phenomenal beat and a phenomenal raise. Analyst expectations are relatively low. They're going to guide, hopefully, for a 20% growth, full year profitability. And the loan platform product that they really started initiating in Q3 of this year might see some stronger tailwinds that gets the street a lot more excited to think of them more than a bank. So I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet about SoFi. We'll see. SoFi tends to pump and dump every time on earnings, even when they triple beat. Don't know if that's going to happen again, but if there was any quarter for that to change, especially in 2025, after Noto's guy won the presidency and all the banks absolutely demolished earnings, you would think SoFi catches a bid if they can crush earnings, which it seems like they'll be able to do. So we'll see how SoFi ends up playing out over the next week. Google's up 1.67%, Apple's down 2%, Amazon's up 1.5%, Robinhood 3.75%. I think Robinhood does get to 50 at 9:30 when the market opens. It got there in the pre-markets. I am thinking of getting a lot more excited to buy Leaps on Hood. I mean, I just don't think the growth is necessarily stopping. I already have Leaps on Hood. I'm thinking like, hey, I think the story is only getting better and better and better. And they are still trading relatively cheap compared to the growth that they're about to put up. So like, this is not a situation where the stock going up should scare you. It's a question of why is the stock going up? And is it going up on irrational exuberance? I don't think that's the case. And we actually talked about this on Robinhood Weekly yesterday. It's very hard for a company like Hood to be massively overvalued because we all get their numbers. Same thing with Schwab and IBKR. Like, if we get their numbers and we know how much growth is happening, and we get 66% of their numbers because we only miss 1 month, but we get 2 months, and this month we got December or this quarter, then it's like the market knows exactly what's happening. And they're not going to give Hood some crazy multiple just for the hell of it, because if Hood can't live up to the growth, like, why would you buy a stock that you know is not going to grow and give it a multiple? Usually people buy stocks at extreme multiples on the guess that the growth will be there, right? But if you don't have to guess for Hood because you literally have their numbers, then I think Robinhood relatively will always trade in line because the market knows what their growth is like. And so if the market's giving them a $50 bid right now, it's because they know that they can justify it with their growth. And I think that's why it's also very exciting to see Hood get some of the momentum that it's getting right now. Palo Alto Networks did get upgraded today, I think to... I got to check the exact upgrade, but I think to like $250, $300 by either by JP or Goldman Sachs. And that's why that one is up 2.26%. CrowdStrike, is that moving as well? CrowdStrike is up about 1%. Let's look at the speculative names. Spec names are all green. Rigetti, IONQ, D-Wave, QUBT, all the quantums are up. Colors down. MSTR is down 1%. We'll talk about Bitcoin in a second. Archer's up 1.9%. And then SoundHound is up 3% currently right now. 230 by Morgan Stanley. Okay, that's more, that makes more sense. 230 by Morgan Stanley on Palo Alto. And that's why they're up. Nancy does own this one still. So this has always been a Nancy stock as well. Okay, so Bitcoin. First of all, MSTR, new purchase, 11,000 Bitcoin today at 101,000 per coin. This is the first purchase of Michael Saylor underneath the Trump administration. You know, the volatility on MicroStrategy is crazy because like randomly you like people will be upset at MicroStrategy one day because he's doing all these at the monies to raise capital and Bitcoin's going down. And so like everyone's upset, and then Bitcoin's going up and it's like, this guy's a genius because he's buying all this Bitcoin and, you know, he's leveraged against it and he has all this alpha. So I think with Bitcoin, the volatile narrative is still what it is. MicroStrategy is not stopping anything they've done since really the past 2 years. The question becomes, when is Trump officially setting up the crypto reserve in a meaningful way? And I think people are definitely a little scared that they didn't get any of the information last night on executive orders. Ross Ulbright is someone that Trump said he would free on day one with an executive pardon. And people are thinking, all right, so no Bitcoin reserve yet, no executive pardon yet for Ross. And the other thing that's a little weird is gung-ho about a lot of topics in his inauguration speech, DEI, going to Mars, all this stuff, tariffs, but he didn't mention Bitcoin. And if he mentioned Bitcoin, I think a lot of people would have got really excited. Bitcoin actually tanked during his inauguration speech. So I think it'll be okay. I think we're waiting for him to officially say it. If we go a week without getting any real notice about what Trump's stance is on Bitcoin and setting up the strategic Bitcoin reserve, even through an executive order, even if it's just symbolic, even if it's not real policy, I think people would be excited, but we're not getting that yet. So hopefully we do see that later this week. Now, Grant, I agree with Dragos right here. It's not something to get scared about. Obviously, Bitcoin's pumping right now because they definitely believe that it's coming. The question is just like, when does he officially make some of these announcements? 104.7, really healthy level for Bitcoin, dude. We were at 89,000 last Tuesday. Got all the way up to 109. Now we're at 104.7. Not bad at all for Bitcoin. Trump did launch a meme coin over the weekend. Let's get Brian Armstrong's thoughts, CEO of Coinbase, and then we'll keep going from there.
In from Washington, where you were just with the whole gang over the weekend. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Andrew.
There's so much to talk about. I want to actually just talk about the weekend first. Take us inside the room. What was the feeling? Just because we've obviously watched the crypto ball and everything else, but there seems to be a full-on sea change, or at least it seems that way in Washington about your world.
Yeah, I mean, it's really the dawn of a new day for crypto, and the energy was just palpable throughout the room. You have to remember, I mean, the last 4 years, we really felt like we were being attacked by this administration. Then they tried to weaponize the lack of clarity in the rules to, really push back even on the good actors, right? There were some bad actors too, to be fair, but they even really tried to go after the good actors, I think, like us. So the industry is just ready for this new change. They're ready for clear rules. And that's our big push next, is to try to go get some legislation passed in the US to make it even more clear.
Did you expect, by the way, an executive order of some sort yesterday? I mean, that seems to be a little bit of the indication of what happened to the extent we're looking at Bitcoin's price as a signal of something.
Yeah, it's been one day. I'm not too worried.
What is the executive order that you're looking for?
Well, I think the first one would be just directing the agencies of the US government to collaborate and work toward getting some clear rules passed. That's what would really allow capital to flow into the United States and for startups to be built there. I think just re-articulating some of these Bill of Rights, if you will, that people have the right to self-custodial wallets and the right to own Bitcoin without being persecuted or being debanked. That was a big issue in the past 4 years as well. Operation Choke Point 2.0, so-called. So those are some of the things I think that could be done with executive orders, but it's really going to take Congress and legislation.
Can I ask you about the Choke Point 2.0, because there's been a lot of debate about it. And the question that I have is, do you genuinely believe that people were being, quote unquote, debanked because they owned crypto at all, or that they were being debanked because they were seen at those banks as a risk of some sort to the bank?
I think what happened is that the regulators, likely cajoled by people like Elizabeth Warren, they started to apply a soft pressure to the banks, and they said, we have concerns about crypto. Vague statements like that, like risk-based statements. And if you're a bank CEO, that's a really hard thing to do. If your regulator tells you to comes in and says, hey, we're uncomfortable with this. And, you say, well, is it illegal? And they're saying, no, we're just uncomfortable with it. I mean, it's really hard for them to stand up to their regulator. And so that kind of soft pressure, which was really unlawful in my view, was what was happening. I
want to bring back in just one sec, but I just want to ask you this, because it became a commotion even the last 48, 72 hours about crypto. What is your feeling about the Trump family's involvement in crypto? And specifically the idea that obviously that President Trump put out a meme coin that was at some point worth, tens of billions of dollars. Melania doing the same. There are some people, even inside crypto, that I've seen who are very critical of those decisions because they look like an enrichment of the president.
Well, look, I think anybody should be able to create a collectible or piece of artwork. There's lots of different types of crypto commodities. There's hopefully securities in the future, but these kinds of collectibles or meme coins, I think, is something that anybody should be able to put out there. As Coinbase, we don't really try to take a position or recommend any one asset versus another. We really just try to look at what.
Very politically correct answer, but nonetheless a decent answer.
What are our minimum listing standards from a compliance and legal point of view, and then we let the market decide.
But just the concept of there's sort of two components. The concept of a meme coin, is that good or bad for crypto? Meaning, if enough people participate in that and ultimately lose, because more people will lose than win for the most part in these types of things. And then the fact that the president of the United States and his family, his sons are obviously involved in a project themselves. Does that concern you?
Well, the thing about meme coins is you have to remember a lot of technology innovation, things start off looking like a toy, right? Think about the early internet, and people were putting silly animated GIFs and like photos of cats and things. And it turned out to be much more important than that, right? And so you always have to be a little cautious. Like with meme coins, it's not something I'm personally like trading all the time. I'm not particularly interested in it, but it could evolve into something very powerful. And so you always have to kind of keep an open mind about these things.
And the family part?
Like I said, I think anybody should be able to go and do this. I don't have too much of an opinion on that.
Becky's back in Washington.
Now, look, politically correct answer, but this is the Melania meme coin. It is down 52% today. So again, this is like, I mean, it's all fun and games until the rug gets pulled. Trump coin as well, not doing that much better, down 27%. I do think the Trump coin is honestly going to trade like DJT stock, which has been public for a while. And if Trump does something good and the sentiment is good and he gets some bill passed and people are excited, they're going to buy it up. And if they're upset at something that he does, it's going to go down. So if you are betting on the reputation and brand of Trump, by the way, Bitcoin 105, very nice right here, 105.1, then that's why you buy these meme coins. In general, do I like it? My personal take, DJT, by the way, down 6.2% right now. No, I don't like that the leader of the free world is pumping a shit coin. I like that he's pro crypto, but meme coins, and again, I've been pro meme coins. I think meme coins are just an expression of sentiment, just like stocks are, even if the sentiment doesn't have cash flows. But when you're the leader of the free world and you do that, and it's obviously, you know, an inability to use your influence to get a bunch of people to buy into it. A lot of people that quite frankly don't know what the hell they're buying into. They're just buying into it for the hell of it because they see Trump associated with it. I don't like that. That's my personal feeling. However, I agree with Brian Armstrong that, look, everyone has the right to do it. And if they have the right to do it, then Robinhood, which listed the Trump coin, Coinbase listed the Trump coin, if they're going to be the toll booths on people that want to gamble on those types of assets, then it is what it is. But I don't obviously personally like the president doing that. And if you get into it, you just got to be ready for the 30, 50% drawdowns, because that's what tends to happen in a lot of these meme coins after they go up 5 to 15,000% in the initial stages. Okay, so that's what we had on Coinbase CEO. We got 3 minutes until the market opens. Robinhood 3.69%. Grab is up 3.3%. The dollar is not down that much, so I don't know why Grab is up. It is, I mean, it's down from where it was yesterday, but if that's the reason, then maybe that's the case. I don't think there's any fundamental news on Grab. I will say, again, I was talking about Grab with some of the people at the meetup. Dude, I like, my conviction on this thing has gotten really high. The only red flag on the Grab thesis to me, which I keep hearing, is people say there's competition. And I need this earnings to kind of see if that thesis makes any sense. Because when people tell me anecdotally there's competition, and I have a lot of people that also tell me they use Grab all day and there is no competition because that's, you know, it's just such a sticky product. I look at the user growth on Grab and I'm like, wait a second, they had 36 million users last time this year. Now they have 42 million. So they're growing users pretty rapidly, monthly transacting users. Everyone tells me there's competition, but all I see is growth in terms of the stickiness of the user base. So from that perspective, their loans are up 81%. Financial services is about to turn EBITDA positive in the next 2 quarters. Profitability, free cash flow, 30% cash. Every part of the thesis to me is making sense. I've listened to the earnings call at this point 5 times to like really hammer down, does this make sense? And unless I'm missing some glaringly obvious part of the thesis, then I think this one has a good Q4, especially it was a holiday tourism quarter, and it does well. But that dollar does need to come down in order for it to be supported. So that's going to be up to Trump to see if that ends up playing out. SoFi, $17 in the pre-market. We got 2 minutes until the market opens. We're up 3% on SoFi. 3% on SoFi right now. That's 17. Very nice to see that. We do have Netflix later today. We have United later today. So we got a lot of stuff after hours that we're going to be getting into on the market close, along with Technical Tuesday. First bell of the golden age. That is correct. That was Trump's official word, right? Official first sentence. The golden age of America is here. And we are beginning that officially today as we get into the market open. And as we get into the next 4 years for Trump. Tempest, I am not buying Tempest for those that are asking. It's up 22%. I can't literally just blindly buy this because Nancy bought it, especially not after it pumps 22%, because the only reason it's up right now is because of Nancy. I'll do some DD though. Over the weekend, I'll try to get a lot of information to try to see what the hell Nancy knows. But honestly, I'm probably not going to find out what she knows, because I don't think you buy a healthcare AI stock unless you know something about the company that the rest of the world doesn't know, especially if you're Nancy. So there's got to be something there that she sees that is going to be a catalyst for the company. And I think that's why traders are stepping into it right now, up 22%. All right, here we go. 15 seconds until the first market open underneath the Trump administration. We'll have all eyes on Hood as we get started. $50, 5 seconds before we get into it. All right, here we go. 9:30 a.m. The stock market is now open. All right, here we go. Robinhood opens up at $49.69. $49.69. It was just at 50 right before we had the bell. $49.63. So it's getting rejected a little bit there at 50. $49.63 up 3% as we get into the market open. Where is SoFi? SoFi $16.94. SoFi got to $17.15 literally right before the market opened. Then it got rejected right there. $16.92. Up about 2.67%. Netflix is up 0.34%. Google, wow, blasting through the 200s, probably on that Nancy buy. That's up 2.38% on the Googs. Grab, 457. That was up 3% in the pre-markets. Now it's up 1.5% as we open the actual markets. SMCI is up 2.6%. Palantir, 2% up. Not bad for Palantir. The defense spending probably is going to go up underneath the Trump administration. He talked about that last night. Palantir and Anduril should be winners under that amount of defense spending. NVIDIA is up 1%. AMD is up 1%. Intel, another 4% for Intel after going up 8% on Friday. Are we at 50 on Hood? Are we at 50 on Hood? Did we get there? I don't think we're there yet. We might have touched it. We might have touched it. I didn't see it. I didn't see it yet. We got to get back there. That was too quick if we did touch it. That was too quick. I didn't see it yet on 50, but let's see if we can get back there. 49.20. If we did get to 50, we got rejected pretty quick right at that level. Vistra is up 4%. Nancy bought that yesterday as well. Energy data center play. Marathon's up 3.2%. MicroStrategy is down 0.45%. There you go on the S&P 500 back over 6,000. S&P 500 back over 6,000. Where is SoFi? SoFi, wow, SoFi. Oh my, 1730 on the SoFi right there. That is a big move. That is your pre-earnings pump going into earnings, which is going to be next Monday. So you're definitely seeing the market get excited right there about SoFi. Palantir 7260, that's getting a bit of a red candle right there. S&P still above 6,000. Tesla, ironically, is red. I say ironically because this is the biggest Trump trade, and Trump is president today. Very weird that Tesla's going down 1%. I don't think there's any news. They did get upgraded by Piper Sandler to $500. We'll talk more about that in a second. But that's confusing why Tesla's down. That's confusing. That's weird. HIMS is up 6%. Shout out to HIMS. That's up 6%. Very volatile stock, but their earnings growth is pretty incredible. I think they actually got downgraded by Bank of America on Friday, but they got upgraded a couple of weeks ago or a couple of days ago from a different firm. So HIMS right there up 6%. Rocket Lab as well is up 14%. Oh my. They got an upgrade by Citibank to 35, but still, I mean, that's a hell of a move. 15% on Rocket Lab. Someone says the EV mandate is gone. That's a Tesla headwind. Yes, that's correct, but I thought that was priced in. I thought the market knew the EV mandate was going away. So that is weird that it's moving on that because I thought the market knew about that. Robinhood getting hit at 49, not able to hold those levels. 48.90 up 1.56%, which makes sense. I mean, getting above 50 is definitely going to be psychological. So it makes sense that Robinhood's getting a little bit of volatility right there, but it is still holding the 49s, which is very nice. If we can even, consolidate around 47, 49, I would be very happy with that. So that's not doing too bad. Palantir right there up 1.2%. SoFi is still at 1730. Rocket Lab now 16%, 2782 on Rocket Lab. Tempest is up 23%. The market likes it. DJT's down 9%. Bitcoin 104,000 on Bitcoin. Oklo, energy nuclear play, probably getting a bid from Vistra. That's up 11%. If you believe in energy and you believe Nancy's buys on Vistras, maybe you take a chance on Oklo from a nuclear perspective. So it looks like that's what's getting some momentum. 3M is also doing very well. They crushed earnings. They beat EPS by like 10%. That's up 5.78%. And then Schwab as well. Great earnings today. They are doing great. They are up 7% right now as they're up 5.6% as they also crushed EPS and revenue. You guys are saying Schwab is down. Is Schwab down for some people? Is Schwab down? Are you not able to log into Schwab? Dude, that's bullish. If Schwab is down, that means on the first day of Trump's presidency, everyone's going into their brokerage. That's actually kind of bullish, in my opinion. Quantum, are we running on Quantum? We are getting a run on Quantum. IONQ, 4%. D-Wave, 5%. Rigetti, 13%. QUBT, up 4%. S&P 500 is now 601. That's up 0.5%. Rocket Labs up 16.2%. Wow. Okay, someone's saying Schwab and Fidelity's down. Let me check if Robinhood's down. Robinhood seems fine to me. No, I can open Robinhood, not pausing, not doing anything crazy. Robinhood's fine. Robinhood stock 49.22. Tesla is getting hit badly. I mean, badly in context. It's down 2% while the rest of the market's up, but it is down 2%. Robinhood seems fine. Some of you guys are saying Fidelity and Schwab are fine. Okay, so maybe it's not going for everybody. It's only for some people. Google all-time high. Are we at a Google all-time high? Are we at a Google? Wow, Google all-time high. That's the Nancy effect, 203. That's the Nancy effect, 203 on the Googs. Amazon should be up as well. Amazon, there you go, is up 2%, 230. Look at that. Look at that. Google and Amazon. Oh, and NVIDIA. NVIDIA should be up too. Those are the 3 stocks Nancy bought yesterday. Yep, NVIDIA, 1.18%. There you go. There you go. And then SoFi holding on to 1730. SoFi not letting that go yet, up 4.9%. Apple, wow. Apple just lost $45 billion of market cap. 3.5% down. Oh my. That is hit. That is hit on Apple. Why is Tesla down? I have no clue. I really have no clue why Tesla's down. They got a nice upgrade this morning. The EV mandate thing is stupid. And we all know, we knew that was happening. Like Trump ran on the idea of getting rid of the EV mandate. And I feel like that's not news to the market. So if that's the case, then that's a little bit emotional for why it's tanking on that reason. I feel like there might be something else. Rocket Lab, 18%. Shout out to the analyst at Citibank that pumped this one up this morning. Goodness gracious. $28, 18%. Insane for Rocket Lab. Doge is being sued. Yes, the government employee union is already suing Doge. So we're already back into lawsuits for Doge. Thoughts on Netflix? Same thoughts on Netflix I've always had. I really don't love the valuation on it. I think it can do well. I've been wrong about the stock since $100. So if you're bullish Netflix, that's fine. I'm not taking the gamble. I mean, I'd buy any of the Mag 7 over Netflix. I think I'd even buy Apple over Netflix, which is crazy. But like, I don't know. I don't see the super long-term trajectory for Netflix. But it's kind of crazy I say that because they're the only profitable streamer. So I don't know. Maybe I have too much bias against Netflix here. Still a phenomenal company. Phenomenal company. I just think they run a lot. For them to keep growing, they've got to penetrate other markets, and it's not the easiest to do that, especially when, you know, in India, no one's paying you $15 a month. They're paying you like $2 a month. So it's just a different business model for them to expand from these levels. But if they're able to show that on earnings today, then they'll probably continue catching a bid. SoFi right here, still down. Tesla's really getting hit now, 415, down 2.7%. Goodness gracious. I don't know why that's happening to Tesla. That's weird. Everything's pretty much green except Tesla. Bitcoin's green. Apple and Tesla are red. Where's Microsoft? Microsoft is green. So Apple and Tesla are the only ones that are red. Apple and Tesla are the only ones that are red. If it's really down on the EV mandate, I think that's not scary at all. That's not anything fundamental that we didn't know about. Wow, why is MSTR down 5%? Huh. Weird. Bitcoin's doing nice. That's weird for MSTR to get hit like that. Is Coinbase down as well? Yeah, Coinbase down as well. Dude, this is the problem with some of these crypto proxies, bro. They're so tied to Bitcoin. They're so freaking tied to Bitcoin that they act so irrationally. That is weird that they are getting hit like this. It's not like Bitcoin's back below 100. Bitcoin's doing really well. That is weird. That is very, very weird. Nuclear is running, yes. SMR is getting a bid as well right here. Wow, up 11.6% on SMR. Archer is up 9%, correct. Archer is up 9% as well. So some of these spec names doing good. GameStop is the only one that's down. Actually, no, GameStop. Yeah, GameStop's down 2.25%. And Kohler is down 5% as well. Piper Sandler did upgrade their price target on Tesla, which is another reason I thought Tesla would be good today. That's a big upgrade. 315 to 500. But that one is not getting hit. SoFi still at 17. That's doing great on SoFi. SoFi right here, 1730. Nubank, where is Nubank? Nubank 1170. That's up 1.4%. And then Grab is at 459. That's up 2%. So a lower dollar helping some of those stocks right now. Mercado Libre as well is up 0.35%. Has GameStop done what they're doing with their $4.5 billion yet, or is it just sitting on it for another year? So far, they have not done anything with that $4.5 billion. But it's a lot of money if they want to do something with it. So they are sitting on that right now, not doing anything too crazy. Who's bullish on Netflix? What do you guys think? Let me put a chart or a poll in the chat. bullish Netflix after the bell. What do you guys think? At 370 billion, can Netflix put up the growth that's necessary to get to 400, 500 billion? What Netflix needs to do, I just thought of it. I mean, dude, split the stock. Split it. $800. Get that thing back down to 100. Do a 1 for 8 split, 1 for 10 split, 1 for 5 split. I mean, I feel like that would at least get some people excited. Maybe announce a higher buyback plan when you split the stock as well. I mean, there are some things they could do if the numbers aren't that amazing, given the stock is at these levels. And that could potentially help. Next decade's up a little bit. Bank of America's up a little bit. ExxonMobil is down. Is energy down today? XLE, the energy ETF, is down. Where are oil prices? Are they coming down? Oil prices are coming down. That's nice. Down 2.3%. Not the best for XLE, but very good for the economy and very good for CPI if XLE comes down. Soundhound as well, doing great right here, up 4.3%. The cruise lines are up 3%. Carnival Cruise right there, 2672. So that one is doing good as well. NVIDIA giving away all of its gains. Google giving back some of its gains. Amazon giving back some of its gains as well. So we're seeing a little bit of volatility. Did Hood give back its gains? Hood gave back like 2% of its gains, 48.76 on Hoodie. We still haven't touched 50 yet on Hood in the actual 9:30 session. At least I don't see it. Oh wait, no, we did. It was very quick though. It was too quick, bro. It was I see it right now, but it was so quick. $50.06. But it was super, super, super quick. Marathon is down 5%. That got hit. And then Rigetti, is that one up? That one is up 22%. That's weird, bro. Rigetti's up 22%. MicroStrategy's down 5%. And then DJT's down 10%. Definitely weird. Lennar, I don't know why that one's down. DR Horton's up 3%. You would think Lennar gets a bid right there. Palantir giving up its gains as well. Now it's up about 0.84%. It was up almost 3%. Intel still holding on to 2%. AMD gave back its gains. And then SMCI right here still holding on to 2.8%. The Trump meme coin, let's check that out. The Melania meme coin is down 51%. Trump meme coin is down 26%, $38 on the Trump meme coin. So I think 50 to 60 is where it stayed at for the majority of the weekend. That's where I think a lot of people started buying it. So we got to see if it actually can get back there or if it stays at some of these levels a little bit below. Reddit right there, 179. That's up 2%. Uber's down. At the meetup, I talked to an Uber employee, by the way, in New York, and he flat out told me the only reason he's at Uber is for the money. He does not believe in the stock, does not believe in the company. He thinks the autonomy business is absolutely dying. He thinks Tesla's eating their lunch, and he just doesn't believe in the long-term trajectory of Uber, but he believes in his nice salary that he's getting from Uber. So take with that information what you will. I still think Uber is pretty undervalued because I don't think robotaxis are like starting tomorrow. But when you got senior software engineers saying they really don't believe in the vision and they're just there for the money, definitely not a good sign. Definitely not a good sign for Hood. Yeah, tell us how you really feel, right? Now, I was trying to hype him up. I was like, oh, you work at Uber, your stock's cheaper now. He's like, dude, our stock's cheap for a reason. He's like, we've given up on autonomy. Like that's the future. And I'm like, well, it is fair. It is. I just think that future is a bit far away. I don't think Uber has to collapse overnight with 150 million users. But it comes down to future growth. That is the most important thing for Uber. TEM is up 26%, bro. Goodness gracious. Did anyone buy this today? I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it yet. I need to do some due diligence, even if Nancy's in it. I definitely don't want to buy it on a 30% pump. But Tempest AI is up because of that Nancy buy. I mean, that is the only reason. There's no way in hell this thing would be up 26% if Nancy did not buy. Oh, did you talk to your friend who's interviewing at Palantir? Yes, I talked to him on Sunday and I hooked him up, bro. He is applying for a product manager role. So he's not going to be like a software engineer, but he's going to be working a lot with the engineers. And I hooked him up, bro. I was like, this is what you say. I was like, you got to talk about the ontology and LLMs. I gave him a bunch of Karp interviews. I was like, literally repeat what Karp is saying in this metaphor about the ontology and oil refineries. I want you to reference Airbus. I want you to talk about BP. I want you to talk about Skywise. I want you to talk about their recent 5-year extension. I was like, bro, most people in the first round of interviews, they're applying to like 20,000 jobs and they're just getting through the interviews and they're seeing if they can get a call back. You are going to stand out because you know so much about the company that recruiter is going to be like, damn, this guy really knows about Palantir. So I hooked him up. I mean, I really hooked him up. And I gave him everything that he needs to say. And I was like, dude, even if she doesn't ask about this, just slip it in there, right? Just like slip this case study about Airbus in there so that she knows that like you understand the historical trajectory about the company. I told him about the Western values. I was like, you got to reference how Karp talks about the sovereignty of the West. I was like, dude, you talk about this shit, I feel like you're going to get a round two just off your knowledge alone about Palantir. So I'll keep you guys updated on that, but I think it's got a good shot to get into round two. So there we go. I also told him reference Karp's got a book coming out. I mean, like most people just don't research that much about a company when they apply for it, right? Like unless they really want the job, but so many people are applying to like 10, 15 jobs at once. So you can't know everything about the company. But I was like, if you know this much, you know, the interviewer hopefully is a little bit more impressed from the other candidates. Tesla's down 3%. Okay, let's read the Tesla upgrade. Because Tesla got a nice upgrade by Piper Sandler. And let's see what the street is starting to think of it. Okay, Piper Sandler, 315 to 500, reiterated as our number one buy and hold idea. Still our number one buy and hold, but H1 2025 might be choppy. Over the years, we've curated dozens of Tesla-specific data sets, many of which we rarely discuss. For the first time, we've consolidated this content into a single report. In the future, we'll make an effort to publish these charts more regularly. Regarding our views on the stock, Tesla is still our number one buy and hold idea. We think investors are starting to appreciate Tesla's potential real-world AI. I know I am with FSD. And as a result, PMs are more willing to entertain upside scenarios. That said, the long-term narrative often takes a backseat when current year estimates are falling, and in this regard, the outlook is highly uncertain. In our opinion, it is clear that Tesla's thesis will ultimately depend on new age opportunities like Optimus robots and neural net training as a service. The problem is these nebulous revenue streams are difficult to incorporate into a DCF. That's a fair point. Given this, we're shifting to a PE-based valuation methodology. Wow. So totally changing the way they value the company. I mean, that to me is bullish in and of itself. I know the stock is down right now, but the fact that Piper Sandler has to change their entire valuation methodology from DCFs to PE to try to understand the future growth potential of Tesla relatively is bullish to me. Our $500 price target is based on 120 times full year 2026 EPS, which is in the top half of Tesla's historical trading range. By 1 year from now, investors should have a greater clarity about new product cadence. This should allow them to focus on other more exciting topics like FSD and the implications for Tesla's AI ambitions. That's pretty incredible. Either you think that's bearish, that the street's like changing the way they value Tesla to match the price action and they're just chasing the stock, or you think that they can't deny the fact that FSD and robotics are going to create unparalleled S-curves in terms of growth that they're not able to, in the words of Dan Ives, see in the spreadsheets, and they have to change their entire methodology. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of feeling the latter versus the former if you believe in their technology and you believe that it's coming in the future. But that could mean that we have some headwinds in the short term as the automotive revenues don't live up to what the street would want to see with 15 to 20% growth. But nonetheless, Tesla right there down 3.4%. Still weird if the EV mandate is the reason why Tesla's falling. I mean, it's a really weird reason if that's why that's happening. HIMS is up 4%. Rocket Lab up 19%. That's the biggest winner on the day. Rocket Lab up 19%. You got Palantir up 1.3%. SMCI is up 5%. Hoodie back above 49. I think there's a shot we hit 50 today. Hood had a lot of momentum above 50 last night. You do tend to get some early morning volatility on this, especially as people are taking some profits. But if people want to get into the name, this might be a little bit of a dip where they take the opportunity, and that could push us over the edge potentially by later in the day. Tempest is up 27%. Never mind. Tempest is winning against Rocket Lab. I mean, Tempest is just on a different level. Nvidia's up 1.6%, and then SoFi up 5% up as well. RDW, that should be up today. Redwire, yup, that's up 23%. It looks like Space is getting a bid. ASTS, that is up 5%, and then Lunar is up 14%. This is a space thing. This isn't a Rocket Lab thing today. This is Trump saying we're going to conquer Mars. I think that's why Space is getting the type of bid that they're getting right now. Seems like that's what's happening. It seems like that is indeed what is happening. Cheesecake up 4.6%. Okay, not bad. In Trump's America, I guess we will eat more cheesecake. And that's up 5%. Now, Walgreens is down 13%. For all the people that love Walgreens, there was a DOJ lawsuit on Thursday that was announced, or Friday that was announced, about illegitimate prescriptions, millions of them that Walgreens handed out to customers, which is just insane that Walgreens is going through this type of headline. But good earnings, really bad lawsuit. Walgreens already having structural issues. That one's now down 12%. Walgreens, I don't know, dude. Every time you think there's a little recovery there, you want to go bottom fishing. It's just sometimes companies are bad for a reason. They're in the bottom for a reason. And it looks like Walgreens is having a lot more issues. Nvidia is pumping just a little bit right here. Nvidia up 1.5%. Rocket Lab did get an upgrade from Citi, yes, but I think the entire space sector mooning is kind of why Rocket Lab's also catching a bid. It's not just Citi, because I mean the other names are, I mean Redwire is up more than Rocket Lab, which is crazy. Redwire didn't get an upgrade, but they're up 25%. I think this kind of has to do with the idea that we are going to be more serious about conquering space, Mars, the moon, etc. Can't believe you called out that poor Uber employee. Correct. Can't believe I called him out. Dude, it was crazy. He was just like, yeah. He was like, Uber is like dead. I was just like, all right, well, at least you get a nice salary there. It is wild to work at a company and get a ton of stock-based comp and then like not even care about the stock. I mean, it's like, it's a very privileged position to get stock from a company, especially a tech company. And then you get the stock and you're like, yeah, I don't even want this. I'm dumping it. It's just wild. But that's what, that's what some of the changes feel like in companies that just aren't innovating at those levels. Why is MicroStrategy down 4%? I have no idea. Bitcoin's pumping. I don't know why MicroStrategy is down. Bitcoin's at 103.5. That is not doing bad at all. I have no idea why MSTR is down. We are Marsing, not mooning, correct. We are Marsing, not moving. Schlumberger's up 1.5%. Energy Transfer's up a little bit. Where's KMI? Kinder Morgan. That one should be up a little bit as well. Yeah, that one up 1.7%. Energy catching a bid, even from what Trump said. CleanSpark's getting wrecked. Well, you see, this is weird, bro. This is so weird. You know why? Here's my top of the head reason. I think that Trump not mentioning anything about Bitcoin was bearish yesterday. Not like definitively bearish, but like in the short term, he mentioned a lot of shit. He didn't mention crypto. And maybe that's one of the reasons why these stocks are kind of dumping on this. Even though Bitcoin's not really dumping. But otherwise, how do you explain it? What's the reason for every Bitcoin proxy besides Hood to be getting hit right now? Like yeah, look at this, dude. Hood's at 49. Every other thing is down. Coinbase down 3%. CleanSpark's down 3%. Marathon's down 3%. Riot's down 3%. MSTR is down 4%. I mean, Bitcoin had $1 billion of inflows on Friday. Like I don't know why that's playing out right now. Trump was so excited about everything he talked about besides crypto. Yeah, it's weird, bro. And I know the crypto bulls will say, don't worry about it. We've got time, which I agree 100%. Like, obviously, we've got a lot of time for him to do stuff on crypto. It's just a little weird that he didn't mention it on the day of the inauguration, That one is a bit weird. Okay, let's get Kris into the show. Let's get his thoughts on what's going on in the market. Kris, I'm calling you in right now. The 10-year is dropping. Let's take a look at that as soon as we get this in, and then we'll see where that's going. Kris, good morning. How are you?
Listen, if I interrupt once in a while, it's because I'm doing a nice push through sitting on the pot. But don't worry, I usually do my best thinking while I'm in here.
Okay, I'm happy that's how you consume the content. I want to get your take on just the broader market based on what we heard yesterday. Obviously, we saw Trump was inaugurated, and it looks like we do have some animal spirits. 10 years at 4.58%. Bullish or bearish over the next couple months with Trump as our new president?
So this is where volatility is going to be like the name of the game. I mean, this guy does things based on literally just, hey, I feel like this is happening, and then he throws like a bomb out there. So there's not a lot of predictability. So this is where you have to just weigh the market and the opportunities in the stocks against that. So here's an example. When you look at like where we are in the current market cycle, like valuation wise, we're pretty up there, right? So if you're following things that are like high in beta, like beta closer to 1, you're going to experience huge volatility in your portfolios. But if you find things that are low beta, you're actually in a better shape to not deal with that volatility. So I don't know how people are playing it in their portfolios, but right now everyone should be adjusting the risks in their portfolio to basically mitigate for that move up and down in beta. So, for me right now, I'm looking at all the opportunities where the policies are going to end up benefiting the underlying sector. So here's an example, like the cruise lines are riding high today. Well, one of the reasons why is because, you know, Trump said we're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to pump oil. Well, if you look at how much the overall overhead cost for cruise lines and airlines are, a lot of them come from, you know, the price of oil and gas and like bunker fuels that these giant ships they run on, right? So if you're telling me that you're going to get, you know, lower pricing on fuels, that's perfect, because that means that now you have an administration that's literally going to be benchmarking their success based on keeping energy prices low, which is a huge, healthy margin boost for the cruise lines. That's why you're seeing cruise lines ride up.
Right.
So I think what happens is people, like, you have to look at industries in a way where, yes, there are direct beneficiaries, but then if you take one step away, you're like, okay, who else is going to benefit from this, right? So like one of the plays that I'm making right now is in energy infrastructure. So like Trump is saying, we want to drill, baby, drill. Well, who's drilling? Who are going to be the people that provide the drills? You know?
Right.
So that's why you're seeing Schlumberger rise, right? It's bad for people that are in the upstream, because that means that the future prospects of higher energy prices are a lot lower, right? Which means that if you are an upstream producer of oil, it's not that great for you. But if you're a supplier of, you know, equipment or rental equipment, bro, that's perfect for you, because that means that now there's going to be all these companies drilling for more oil, and you're going to benefit from that. So that's why you got to follow Stephen Fiorello. Stephen nailed SLB. You know, like if you're not following that guy, dude, I would say you probably get more value from following Steve than following me on certain things.
No, I agree. Steve has a knack for finding a lot of because he looks at balance sheets all day, right? So
the only problem with Steve is that he doesn't pull the trigger hard enough.
I agree. Okay, so I want to get your take then on that Tesla, because you had some comments on that. So Piper Sandler's using PE instead of their traditional DCFs to value them. Two questions. Number one, why is Tesla down 3% in your opinion today? And then two, is that bearish or bullish that they're changing their valuation method?
Okay, here's a question. What's Tesla's current PE ratio?
201.4.
Okay, now factor in PE growth 100% for the next 5 years. What would be the PE ratio then?
Meaning it compresses by 100% over the next 5 years, right?
Correct.
That would be, so we go to 100, then 50, then it'll be in the 20s, basically in the teens. Right.
So if your growth prospect is, hey, I think Tesla is going to grow its earnings 100% year over year, that is what you're paying for with Tesla today. That's why people are like, wait a second, I'm paying for all this growth up front, and I'm assuming really, really high levels of growth. But at the same time, you look at its revenues, and revenues are flatlining, right?
Right.
So if your idea is, hey, somehow Tesla is going to become more profitable going forward, then that's something to keep in mind. So from a valuation standpoint, they're just saying like, hey, you know, if they're able to achieve earnings growth in the latter, you know, like 22 years or whatever, then the PE ratio absolutely makes sense to buy it today. But if you don't think that's going to be the case, and that, you know, these bots and this other stuff, their profitability is not going to be nearly as high, then that's something to, you know, weigh that against Tesla. So
I think that's a fair case, because if you're buying it at these levels, you believe in exponential growth that's coming from FSD and robotics. So the PE should compress. I think that's a fair case. But if it doesn't happen, then that means you were just wrong on the growth story if you're buying Tesla here. I think that's fair.
Right. So you're basically, like you said, you're basically making a bet that Elon gets Optimus right. He gets the FSD thing right. And that ends up leading to higher margins for Tesla. So even if your revenues do compress, or at least they don't grow nearly as much, if your margins expand, then the PE is justified, right? One of the things about Tesla is that they've been spending a lot of money on CapEx in building out infrastructure for Texas. And I think, do they already start with Mexico, like the battery thing over there? And this, like Germany, there was another one. So Tesla definitely has room where it could cut back on CapEx and end up gaining profitability. The question is, they're pushing down market also with their cars. That could be something to keep in mind as well. So like I said, it's all about how Tesla can generate more profitable revenue going forward. I mean, I think that they absolutely can via their infrastructure with charging, and then also with their service centers, right? Like if you right now have a Tesla car, you big into a service center and you have to pay an X amount of money, That's all high margin revenue for Tesla. That's how all the big automakers, that's how they make their money. They don't really make a lot of money selling the cars. They make more margin on the service that they end up providing, the underlying. And the thing is, with Tesla, you get vendor lock-in, which is a really good thing for them, because that means that, there's not a lot of places that can repair certain aspects of a Tesla. Like, you can take a regular car to a garage, but most of the time with a Tesla, you can only really take it to a Tesla service center. And whatever the Tesla service center said you have to pay, you got to pay.
Right. Okay. Are you following Nancy into Google, Amazon, or NVIDIA today?
More like Nancy's following me into these things, bro. Yeah. No, I think the growth story for Google is really was overshadowed by this whole legislative thing with the DOJ. But you saw like the prominent level of attention that Google pretty much got at the inauguration. With Pichai was there, but also Sergey Brin was there.
Yeah.
Which was one of the things. But absent was Microsoft, which was kind of surprising. So, I think Google is turning a new leaf.
Why do you think that? Why do you think Nadella wasn't there?
I don't know. I really don't.
That is kind of weird.
Sam,
no. One theory I had is the people that weren't there were the ones partnering with the AI startups like Nadella, and the people that were there were the ones that kind of control AI in its current day.
I don't know why Nadella wasn't there. I mean, honest, he was there. Microsoft was, as far as I know, Microsoft was the only one of the big tech companies that was there. Because Elon was there for Tesla, right? Zuck was there for Meta. Bezos was there for Amazon. Pichai and Brin were there for Google. So it's like, I don't know. It was such a weird thing to see. I know Jensen wasn't there, but I'm sure that's because Jensen's like, I don't need to kiss nobody's ring, motherfucker. I'm NVIDIA. Like, when you have that kind of power, you don't need to kiss anyone's ring. The other guys are like, I'm being investigated. I need to kiss the ring before the DOJ comes and tries to break me up.
Yeah.
All
right. So overall, okay. So last question here. This 10-year is falling, but we do have tariffs that every time Trump mentions it, he said February 1st, we have 25% tariffs. We get a spike in the dollar and the 10-year. How do you think the market's going to internalize his tariff vocabulary?
So I was trying to listen to Scott Bessent to figure out, what the logic behind the tariffs is versus what the end goal is. Remember, the Trump administration, they need a weaker dollar. If the goal is to close the trade deficits with countries, you're not going to do that by having a strong dollar and a weak currency on the opposite side, right? If you want the Europeans to buy more American shit, they're not going to spend crazy amounts of currency on that, where they have to convert things to a dollar. Because, think about it. If the dollar's strong, that means you're paying more for a same good or service that they could get somewhere else. So this is where, even though technically speaking, the tariffs are a bad thing, there are other things that might be counterweighing. So as an example, one of the theories that I have, I know a lot of people are saying, well, with all these deportations and also shutting down the border, that means that there's going to be labor shortages. And if we have labor shortages, inflation is going to spike. But the real thing that people need to consider is that, look, if you look at the undocumented immigrant population, especially the new arrivals, I think based on the employment surveys, they would say about 3 out of 4 actually work. The other quarter don't really work. So if you're deporting the people that are not really working or adding to the productivity, you're basically taking out a lot of demand for goods and services. And the thing is, the counterpoint is, yes, you're taking away some of the labor pool, but you're also taking away a lot of demand. So one of the things that I was researching is how much the government actually spends more on immigrant services, like providing housing and food and shelter and healthcare and everything. And I remember the Doge report that Elon and Vivek released last month over the amount of money that the immigrants, like illegals, pay in taxes, because they do pay taxes via sales and property and all the other non-income related taxes. The government ends up spending about $150 billion more than they take in.
Right.
So if you're able to kind of reduce that down, what you're doing is essentially cutting government expenses, right? So yes, there's going to be some shock to labor participation. I mean, to like labor here and there. But at the same time, you also have government spending coming down. And if government spending comes down, that means that that's bullish for inflation, because that means that inflation will come down along with it. Like, I think you really have to subscribe to the Milton Friedman theory that most of inflation actually comes from just extended government expenditure. So if the talk around the Trump administration is we're going to be a lot more sensible about spending money, and we're not going to spend it on all this extra frivolous stuff that we don't need to do it on, then that means that that's less money that's going to be circulated in the economy, which should lead to, you know, some level of disinflation.
Correct.
I think the bond market
Correct.
is recognizing that.
Correct. I agree. No, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot, and you mentioned last week a lot of different disinflationary things we have, whether it's AI, China, etc. And
you want to know something that I found to be like probably the basically that pinpoint that I needed to hear. Did you hear the thing with the HUD secretary that during his confirmation process? Basically, Elizabeth Warren said, "Look, there's a huge problem with home affordability, right?"
Right.
To the HUD secretary, and so the HUD secretary, so Elizabeth Warren's like, "I know right now you're spending $70 billion a year. How much more do you need?" And so the guy says, "No, I don't need more money. I just need to figure out ways to spend it better." Right? And Elizabeth Warren was like, "What? What do you mean you don't no, you have a problem. You need to spend more money." And I love the guy's response. Like, "No, we need to be more efficient. Like, we are at all-time highs on how much money is going towards HUD, and we're not getting the results. That doesn't mean that we're throwing money at the problem is going to fix it. We need to figure out how to actually utilize the existing resources to get people the services that they need." I mean, this is one of the great things about Doge right now that's coming out, is that people are really like looking interdepartmentally, like, where is the waste? Where is the you know, the fat that can be trimmed from budgets? This is not a situation where, you know, just throwing money at a problem is going to fix it. And what does that mean? That means that, once again, government spending goes down. And if government spending goes down, that should naturally help inflation come down also.
Correct.
Based on what Milton Friedman says, which I 100% agree with. You know?
Right. It's a fair point. It's a fair point. Thank you, Kris. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you later. But yeah, we are getting a little bit of a sell-off right now, so it does seem like markets.
How's SMCI doing?
Oh, this SMCI thing. You, Steve, and Matt love this thing. That's up 3%.
That one is the one to watch out for in the next couple of weeks, mainly because there's two really big catalysts on the horizon for these guys. Number one, you already saw the mega cap companies. They announced that they were going to spend X amount of money on CapEx, and the CapEx amount is pretty substantial, right? The reason why is because all of these big guys, they're going to be making a crap ton of money on inferencing, right? So basically, when you utilize ChatGPT and all this other stuff, and you utilize more compute intensive applications, you're going to need more resources. Now, where's that resource coming from? That's coming from something called inferencing. Inferencing requires more and more GPUs in these data centers. So SMCI is one of the biggest companies among the hyperscaler vendor partners like Dell and HP, and then you have SMCI. And SMCI has like some proprietary stuff with cooling and all this other stuff. Their biggest challenge was that short report, and I went through the short report with Matt and with Steven and one of our other friends. I think you were there. Were you there?
No, I was streaming Jensen that day, and that's why I wasn't there.
Okay, gotcha. So basically, we discussed and we said, look, at the worst, these guys were aggressively recognizing revenue, but that's not something that's like fraud, right? It's one thing if you have a product that's out there that's a completely fraudulent product that you're selling to people, and it's another thing if you're basically accounting for, you know, certain shipments that are maybe 1 week or 2 weeks ahead of the schedule on when when your quarter ends and stuff like that. So there's definitely things that from an accounting standpoint that these guys probably have to work on. But dude, if you're in like hyper growth mode, you have like an international logistics system, you know, your accounting department is eventually going to have to, you know, adjust itself and catch up. Most of the time, companies will do that behind the scenes these guys got caught off guard with it, and the short report came out at the worst time, and then EY kind of dumped them. So that kind of like drew a lot of negative attention towards them. But I think that, in my opinion, could probably be fixed over the next like 6 to 12 months. And so once the trust comes back and the numbers start showing that, hey, these guys are actually making really, really good money, there's an asymmetric risk opportunity for this thing to get much higher because just where they are in the current like AI ecosystem.
What is your price target on these guys end of year?
To be honest with you, I don't know, man. It's going to be driven by market sentiment more than it's going to be driven by real valuation, because it's all about trust, right? Like, the other thing, Kramer said to sell. So, bro, if Kramer says sell, I'm a buyer. I mean, I'm sorry. Inverse Kramer's been like too profitable to not do, I feel like sometimes he does it just to fuck with us.
He definitely does.
Do you ever get that feeling?
Oh, of course. 100%. I get it. My thing on SMCI, and I haven't done as much research as you, I still don't trust management yet. And that's why I'm just like, what, I'll stay away. But I can understand saying, what, management is whatever. They're going to grow with NVIDIA. I get that point.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff that they highlighted in the short report about like double dealing with like companies that they work with, something called Abelcom. It's like controlled by the CEO's brother, and they have like an interest in that company. So it's kind of like a weird, like, from a governance standpoint, it doesn't feel right. But that's how like Asian business kind of works, where it's like a family operation where one guy does this and that's your exclusive supplier. You know how it is. So it's just a cultural thing, in my opinion. At least that's what I'm thinking. And I think these things are, in the short term, going to, of course, plague the share price. But if they get resolved and they're actually able to show healthy numbers, and then the auditor, the new one that they took on, which is a pretty big auditor, BMO is actually pretty big. They're like the fifth largest auditor, behind, I think, behind who was it? PwC. So it's not like a small audit that took them on. If they get cleared by them and everything goes across okay and the report comes out nice and clean, this thing should shoot up very nicely in the next few weeks. So we'll see. I mean, by the way, this is a speculative thing. So this is not something that I would say, okay, yeah, just dump all your money and this is going to go up. Like, no, like, understand that there are some serious risks around delisting that these guys could end up facing if they don't correct their situation and do it by February 25th.
Right.
But I have enough confidence in these guys to get the job done. So I don't mind taking the bet,
Yeah. Kind of only put in what you can be willing to lose on something this speculative.
Exactly.
One last headline for you, Kris. I just got this right here. This was my take when this news dropped. I'm curious what your quick take is on this. Hindenburg's Nate Anderson could face securities fraud charges through an allegation with Anson Hedge Fund, revealed by court documents. Do you think that's why this guy hung it up at 38 years old and decided to?
No, man. Short sellers are hated, man. Like, dude, I'll sometimes come out and say, like, I don't want to invest in a company. I'll get hate thrown at me. So imagine coming out and being against a company. How much hate gets thrown your way, And, bro, the risk reward for short sellers is actually terrible. It's really, really terrible.
Because you can only make 100%. That's your max profit.
Right. But on the other side, you could lose way more. I mean, just ask Chanos, man. Chanos with his Tesla short, that freaking crushed him, Yeah. So to be a short seller, you gotta have some balls, man. And I've never seen a short seller have lasting power. Like you'll never see a Warren Buffett type short seller,
right. Right.
How many guys do you know that actually made money shorting the market continuously? Like, yeah, you'll have these Ray Dalio type events and, where you can short like mortgage-backed securities right before the bottom falls out. But those are like far and few between things. I mean, then you've got like, what's his name? Ackman. Remember Ackman shorted Herbalife and he got absolutely destroyed, not because Herbalife was a garbage company, but because activists on the other side got involved and fucked over his short position. So same thing happened with the guys, what's his name, from GameStop, So this is where there's so much risks to being short on things and then also being public about it. Back in the day, people saw short sellers as crusaders against bad practices, but now they're seen as villains. And I think being a villain, just some people can hack it, some people can't, and it ends up really weighing on your mental health and stability and everything else. So,
That's fair. That's fair.
Yep.
All right, Kris. Chris's Twitter in the chat. Thank you, brother. We will talk to you
Take care.
later. Thank you, bro.
Have a good one.
Have a good one. All right, market's getting a little bit of a 10:30 dump at 10:14. Most names have definitely retreated a little bit. Tesla, this is just surprising to me, dude. Did not expect 5% down on the first day of the Trump presidency. Did not expect that. Not today. Not today. Not because of the EV mandate that everyone already knew about. Like, if that's the reason, dude, that's got to be the worst reason for it to start to get triggered in terms of the stock price heading down. I would think there would be a better reason. Palantir right here down 1.2% as well. Rivian, but see, I think it is the EV mandate, because why is Rivian down 7% or 8%? It has to be because the entire EV sector is not getting a $7,500 tax credit anymore, even though that's not in law yet. I think the market's assuming it's going to get into law soon, but it's not literally in law yet. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why this is happening right now. It's just another day for Tesla shareholders, exactly. just another day for Tesla shareholders. Oh, what else? Hoodie still holding on to the 48s, which it makes me happy. I'm not greedy. I don't need 50. Keep us above 45. That's all I care about. We don't need to go crazy on this. So I think consolidation here is very fine. Rocket Lab obviously getting a really nice bid today from that city upgrade, 20%. Nvidia just went red. Walgreens is red. Google and Amazon still kind of red. I mean, they're green, but not as green as they were. And then MSTR as well, getting hit badly. I don't know why Bitcoin's falling. I mean, Bitcoin's fine. It's at 103. Like, this is great for Bitcoin. It was stuck at 90 for almost a month, or 90 to 97. This is like finally starting to normalize 100 for the past couple of days. Like, this is really good. I don't know why crypto stocks are getting hit on this. It's weird. It's very, very weird. Yeah, NIO's down 4% as well with the other EV names. Brandon says, I'm thinking of buying another Tesla. I assume you'll still get the tax credit if you buy right now. They wouldn't retroactively take it away for 2025 tax season. I don't think they would do that either. That would be weird if they retroactively take away your $7,500. I don't think that would happen. I could be wrong, but yeah, I think this might encourage people to go out and buy a Tesla right now to take advantage of the tax credit. But if the street's upset about that EV mandate going away, maybe that's why they're pricing in a lack of future growth on these EVs getting expensive. Amit, are you buying Max 7 stocks before earnings? Yeah, I'll probably buy Google, Amazon, NVIDIA. I'll let you guys know when I buy them. But those three I will buy. And if we can get Tesla back below 400, I will be a buyer there as well. Might just buy Tesla later today as well. I'll let you guys know. But 408 down about 4% right there. SMCI up 1.8%. Tempest, this thing, outperforming everything, up 30%. I know you guys said Tempest released some products today. There were some news updates from them. I'll have to deep dive and see kind of what they put out. But this is Nancy. This is absolutely Nancy. Seems like that's the reason. Elon's liquidating Tesla to buy TikTok. Dude, that'd be crazy. That would be insane if he's selling Tesla to buy TikTok. I don't think that's going to happen. Trump did say last night he is very confident they're going to broker a deal on TikTok. So I guess we're going to see if Trump can get that in order. NVIDIA right there, 138. Rigetti's up 16%. Carnival Cruise up 2%. Grab up 1.44%. SoFi still holding 17. A close above 17 would be great for SoFi. Archer gave up most of its gains. It was up 10%. Now it's up 1%. And then SMR is up 4.3%. He'd have to disclose it. Yeah, he would. So, I mean, we will find out if he actually does end up doing that, but I don't think he does that. I think he can raise money. He doesn't have to sell Tesla for TikTok. There's plenty of people that would invest with him into TikTok if he actually wanted to get in there. Oh, speaking of TikTok, I think we have an update on it. Actually, let's listen to this. We'll get the TikTok update in a second. I didn't know we would have Dalio today. We got Dalio. We don't get to hear from him too often. Let's see what he has to say about the market, AI, China. These are usually the topics that he tends to focus on. And then we will keep going from there.
And it's called How Countries Go Broke, Principles for Navigating the Big Debt Cycle. And it is going to be available online soon.
It's
not
available.
Already. It's available now.
Yeah, I'm putting it out part by part. It's got 4 parts, and then in about 2 weeks, it'll be all out, and it's free on a PDF because people don't know the mechanics, and government officials don't know the mechanics. And so this went back with theoretical for the bond market.
But let's talk about it. And what is that path? And you're right. I've been arguing, I don't know if you agree, that the bond market, more than anything else, is going to be the governor on all of. If there is a governor on the politics of our moment right now, given that you have a red, Congress, Senate, and the White House, the only governor, if you will, politically, in a weird way, may be the bond market.
Of course, because interest rates, the government interest rate is the backbone of all markets, right? Stock market, bond market, all borrowing, all lending, everything, right? So in answer to your question of what is the solution or what needs to be done, and it's almost a black and white situation, is think of the number 3%.
3%.
3% of GDP.
Yes.
We have a projected deficit of 7.5% of GDP. That means all those bonds have to be sold. And then because of the supply-demand imbalance, when you sell bonds, when I calculate who are the buyers of the bonds, there will not be enough buyers. And then what could be worse in this dynamic is those who own bonds also sell the bonds. And when that happens, there's a tremendous supply-demand. And then we have problems. We can get into what it looks like.
All right, yeah, this is bad. This is bad. It's so bad, dude. Like, this is just not interesting at all. I don't know. It's like, I get, like, sometimes bond talk can be interesting. A lot of times it's boring. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to get any real value out of that. Let's get some updates on what Trump did yesterday, and we'll keep going from there.
What do we know here, Megan?
Hey, David, good morning. So almost 4 dozen of these executive orders signed yesterday, but the meatiest ones, I would say, fall into 3 main themes. The first, of course, being the economy. There's some deregulation on the energy front, things like ending the LNG pause, cutting EV mandates that President Biden had put in place. There was an order to delay enforcement of the TikTok ban by 75 days, while Trump is looking for China to sell at least 50%. And there was this somewhat surprising move on trade policy, ordering a review of trade deals and relationships. That's due out April 1st, but stopping short of imposing any tariffs. Trump later did say that he is looking at February 1st next week to potentially place tariffs on Canada and Mexico. So no action on that front for now, but that does not mean that it's not coming. There was still a lot of talk yesterday on an external revenue service and tariffs making the country rich. So those objectives remaining in place. We also then saw a slate of moves targeting the federal bureaucracy. Trump formally established DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, ended telework policies for federal employees and stripped some job protections for career officials as well. And then he put in place a freeze on both hiring and regulation. And then the third bucket is what I would call sort of global withdrawal, almost isolationist in some of these moves. Trump pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accords, the World Health Organization, and the OECD global tax deal. He's ending asylum, trying to end birthright citizenship, and he issued a 90-day pause in any foreign development assistance. So sort of a striking split screen here, guys, with Davos going on this week. America First was threaded throughout every piece of these actions signed yesterday. And then finally, one last thing to flag. The White House has told us to expect what they're calling as a big infrastructure announcement later this afternoon. So more to come on that front. Guys.
Looks like he's moving. Looks like stuff is getting done, at least the stuff that he said he was going to be doing.
Big infrastructure reminds me of the first Trump administration. Every week was infrastructure week. Megan, I noticed the shares of a number of the electric vehicle makers, particularly Tesla, but also Lucid and Rivian, are down. Is that because of is that the Paris climate pulling out of that, or the rollback potentially of IRA? What do you make of it?
It could be any of those things. Also ending these tax credits that were incentivizing people to go with electric vehicles, all of that now being off the table. I think it could be any one of those. But what we do know is that there's going to be much more to come on this front. There could even be further regulation. Ending EV mandates is what they're calling it for now. But how much more does he want to get back in there to really boost the American automakers that might lean more heavily away from electric vehicles? So much more to watch. I think it's a combination of all of that.
Look forward to some more headlines after the close, Megan. Thanks. Megan Casella, busy morning.
Okay, so it looks like that EV mandate thing is hurting Tesla and the EV stocks, at least for today. SoFi back at 1730, getting a little bit more green candles. 48.50 on hoodie. Palantir 71.66, SMCI 31.46, Tempest still up 35%, and then Rocket Lab. I mean, goodness gracious, 25% on the day. 29.88 on the lab of rockets. 29.88 on the lab of rockets. Pelosi stocks were Tempest, Nvidia, Amazon, and Google, and Vistra, VST. Those were the 5 stocks she bought yesterday. Schwab is down. Why are you guys Schwab? I guess a lot of you have said Schwab is still down for you today. That's weird. I think it's kind of bullish because that means everyone's going to their trading apps, maybe, or there might be actual issues with Schwab. But a lot of you guys have said Schwab is down. Bitcoin 103, that's up 1.1%. Tesla down at 3.7%. DXYZ is something that is interesting, but it's not something I would invest in. Again, this thing is just like a fund that has a ton of startups in it. I really don't like these, dude. I don't like the ARK Venture Fund. I don't like any of these. I just never liked having a conglomerate of a ton of startups inside of one like ETF, because you don't know anything about the valuations, the metrics, none of this stuff. You don't know the allocation sizing. So yeah, not a big fan of that. I know SpaceX is in there. That's why people want some exposure to that. But I'd rather just buy SpaceX stock. And there's ways to do it. The SpaceX is the most liquidly traded stock on the secondary markets. So if you have the money, it's not the hardest thing. You're just gonna have to pay a premium, but you can get access to SpaceX there. What is the 30 resistance on Rocket Lab? That's a good question. Let's check that out. So Rocket Lab at 30, it's 9 cents away. Dude, it's nothing. It's like 1,000 shares. Oh, there it is. Wow. As I go to check it, we get to 30. There you go. We got to ring the bell on Rocket Lab at 30 Dolores. There you go. 25% on Rocket Lab. Dude, not bad. Not bad at all. I mean, that's a big pump along with the broader space sector. ASTS as well, getting some love, up 7.2%. Also Reddit. Holy crap. Reddit's up 5% to 184. Goodness gracious, bro. There are some individual names, again, as like 2024, where they just like, if you're in the right name, you're in the right name. If you're in the right name, you're in the right name. Rocket Lab, did Rocket Lab touch 30 before? I think we touched 30 a couple weeks ago, right? Did we? Yeah, it touched it for a little bit. 30.29, it touched it on January 6th. So it did make a round trip all the way back to 23, back to 30.48. But that is a mover, bro. That is a freaking mover. Sold a 30.5 call. Hopefully did not get called away, but still I'm pretty happy if it get called. So much profit pocketed. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you make some profits on it, then it's still a good trade. Resistance at 31. Yeah, let's check, dude. I went to check the resistance and then it's just gone. At 31, which it looks like it's not crazy, bro. 31 resistance is 25,000 shares. That's not crazy. Volume's 22 million. Oh my. I did not buy any of the Trump meme coin. I did not. Blonde Beard said I sold Rocket Lab at 7. Sometimes it is what it is, bro. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens. It's up there. It's up there. You got Matt saying I bought more at 25.35, 25.40 this morning in the pre-market. I mean, look, that upgrade's bullish. It's hard to deny that upgrade. The question's just now, do they deliver the growth to match the expectations of the upgrade? But if they do, which they're guiding for 125% growth, my thing on Rocket Lab is if they can get profitable before end of year, I think that's what really takes them over the top. Because we've seen this time and time again. We ironically saw with Reddit last quarter, when you're profitable before the street's expecting it, they get very happy because they're actually paying a real price to earnings, even if that earnings is elevated. So that might be the catalyst that's needed on Rocket Lab. All the space names are pumping, correct? All the space names are pumping as well. Tesla European registrations are down 13%. Could that be the headline as well? That's definitely, that makes sense because it wasn't going to match the 2024 numbers or the 2023 numbers from Q4. But I don't know if that's the only reason why it's down 3%. Scott says, I have all my Rocket Lab positions sold short between 20 and 29. The dangers of selling calls, lose out on a lot of upside. Oh, well, I'll take the big profit as I was fortunate to get it on. Yeah, I mean, look, that's the beautiful thing about selling calls. It sucks if you're wrong on the timing because the stock runs away from you, but it's not as dangerous as buying calls because the stock never gets to that level. You lose all your premium. Whereas on selling calls, the worst thing that happens is you make some profits, which is, not a bad thing when it comes to selling options. Nonetheless, it is a pretty incredible run, dude. 30% in a day is not easy on Rocket Lab. I mean, when's the last time it did 30% in a day? It did have that 50% day after earnings when it went from 18 to like 26 or something. It was like 15 to 24. So it did have like a 50% day, but this has been the best day since then. SoFi S&P this year, it is possible. They've got to get to profitability for the next 2 quarters and then maintain it until the end of Q4. SoFi breaking out as well, 5.61%. So SoFi 1743. That's not doing too bad. SoFi, HIMS, and Rocket Lab, kind of like those Twitter stocks, they're doing great. HIMS is up 5%, Rocket Lab up 30%, 28%. Rocket Lab 5 cents away from 31. And then SoFi 1744. I think Hood could get in the S&P before SoFi just because they've got all the requirements already. But SoFi has a shot later this year to get there. Rocket Lab 2 cents away from 31. Got hit at 30.98, but there's only 25,000 shares separating it. Only 25,000 shares separating it. Rivian still down 5%. Palantir just slightly went green. Slightly went green. Someone says I'm up 20% year to date. All right, let's put that in the chat. How much are you up year to date? What percentage? I'll show mine as well. I think it's 10% year to date. Let me check. I am up 12.76% year to date. So what percentage are you up year to date? I know it's only 20 days in, but let's do that. Let's see. I mean, if we're all in that 10% range, I think that's pretty damn good, bro. 20 days in, got a long time left, but still, we're positive, which everyone should be positive. I mean, market's up. It's not like anything should be that bad. Yeah, pretty much everyone's in that 5. So Ruda's up 18%. Luke's up 6%. Phil's up 2%. Tyler's up 17%. Kris Joins up 117%. Is that because of options or is that because of stocks? Well, it can't be because no stock is up 117% year to date, right? It has to be options. Is there any stock that's up? No, the only stocks that are up like 30% are, well, now Rocket Lab today, but also energy infrastructure. Those were up a lot. 19 for Wadner, Roberto 15. SoFi 1750. Let's go, baby. There we go. Let me check my options on SoFi. I think we're going to pull it off, bro. We got a $20 strike on those. I think we pulled it. Wow, those are up big. Those are up big. We're up like almost 500%, 462% on those. So those we just leave. $20 by January 2026 feels like it's going to happen. And it looks like that one will work. Scott's up 31% year to date. Jay Santiago 6%. It's because of option trading. Okay, that makes sense. Calls, that definitely helps you, 110%. Did we get 31 on Rocket Lab? Did we get 31? Well, if you're not awake yet, you're about to wake up because we got to do the bell. 31 on Rocket Lab. Rocket Lab's taking all the bells today, bro. Rocket Lab's taking all the bells today. 31 on the Lab of Rockets, up 30%. SoFi up 6.3%. HIMS up 5.6%. I mean, look, if you're heavy in Rocket Lab, you got to be up at least, what is the Rocket Lab up year to date? Got to be up at least 15%. Rocket Lab year to date is up 24%. Yeah, based on your average, Rocket Lab should be carrying a lot of portfolios if it's overweight. Yeah, most people, it seems like being up, basically call it 10 to 20% is the average that I'm seeing right here. Makes sense. Makes sense. Amit, how long does it take to transfer money from Webull into Robinhood? I just tried to transfer my Roth IRA from Webull into Robinhood. They are saying that they will review the transfer. It depends on your broker, right? And obviously Webull doesn't want you to do that, so they're going to take their sweet time. Usually it takes a week. It should be quicker, but you never know. Webull they're trying to save you as a customer. So does Schwab. So they might reach out to you, might try to give you some incentives. Customer rep might call you, but in general, it takes about a week if you just let it kind of play out. How do you find your year-to-date performance on Robinhood? So go to the top of the portfolio and just click on YTD. There's 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, YTD, 1 year, and then all time. And so when you click on YTD, it'll automatically show you the percentage that you're up here today. Peter says I'm overweight Tesla, so I'm down. Dude, the Tesla thing is confusing today. It's really confusing. We're getting a little recovery though. We bottomed at 406. Now we're at 414. So not getting hit as badly. Oh yeah, where's Fubo? We haven't looked at that in a minute. Fubo? Where was Fubo's top? Fubo was at 658. Now, damn. That's down 50%, folks. So if you bought it at 658, it's at 3695. Still up about 3x from the $1.20 that it was at on December 31st. But anyone who bought in that 650 to 450 range is now holding a little bit of a bag here. Jed says Rocket Lab is 70% of my portfolio, 90% of my 401k. Well, look, I mean, at the end of the day, let me show you guys this picture. We're going to get Josh on the show eventually. He couldn't make it on Thursday, but sometimes consolidation is what wins, bro. I mean, I would say I'm a case study of that with Hood and Palantir last year, but sometimes consolidation is what, not even sometimes, like it is the answer if you have the right stock and if your risk profile is a little bit higher. But look at Josh's portfolio, 71% SoFi, 250,000 shares. He exercised to buy 90,000 shares on Friday. Average cost 644, and he's up $2 million. And if he thinks, if SoFi does get to $25, $30, I mean, he's going to have tens of millions of dollars just off SoFi. So it's hard to get that initial capital to dump into the consolidated play, but once you do it, and it's risky, right? You have, like, if you have a family, you have kids, like there's a lot of risk associated, especially SoFi, which is just one single stock versus the broader market. But when you consolidate heavy, I mean, like that's what creates real wealth. And I've been able, I've been fortunate enough to talk to some wealthy people over the past year and a half. And it's the same thing they tell me. They're playing on a different scale, but you consolidate and then you diversify. But to get that initial wealth, you got to go all in on something. Now, granted, after a year like 2024, it's hard to just say, all right, I'm going to go all in at SoFi at 1750, because it's not the same as going all in when the stock is hated at 644, when Rocket Lab's hated at $5. But still, you got to have conviction and cash, as Martin says. Conviction and cash. Amit, can you explain your SoFi call that you just put up? Yeah, so I have a call debit spread on SoFi, $15, $20, which means I bought a $15 call on SoFi. I sold a $20 call on SoFi. That created a spread between both options. And I purchased that spread on September 21st for 35 cents, aka $35. And the spread is currently worth $1.92. So if SoFi can get to 20, the spread would be worth the difference between the short and the long call, which would be $5, 15 minus 20, or 20 minus 15, aka 500. And 500 divided by 35, we wouldn't get 500, but like just for the purposes of the math, 500 divided by 35 would be 14, which means it would be a 1,400% return. And so that's also why I kind of, I'm not that eager to buy more SoFi shares, because I kind of have my exposure, and I just kind of got lucky that I only put in $3,000 at the right moment, and it could turn into a lot more than that if SoFi just goes to 20. But even then, I'm still thinking, dude, I think before earnings, getting some shares is not crazy. The only problem I have is, what if this is the run-up to earnings, even with Hood, right? Like, what if this is a run-up for earnings and then it just tanks on earnings, which tends to happen many times, even if the numbers are good. Same thing with Rocket Lab. I mean, you got earnings coming up, but this is a massive run-up going into earnings. I mean, they would have to really, really surprise with the numbers to get this to go even higher. But then again, if these companies can keep executing it at really strong levels, buying into strength might not be the craziest thing. Options class is on Saturday. So we're going to do a very, very, very basic beginner to options, like 2-hour live stream on Saturday. I met some people at the meetup and they're like, dude, can you just do one that's like super, like you're talking to a third grader, super slow, like very basic, nothing complicated, break down every little detail. And we'll do that on Saturday. Also, it's good for me because my mom has always told me this. If you can teach it to someone, you can better understand it yourself. So it'll be good for me to kind of lay it all out there and just, reference that anytime anyone wants to learn about it. But we're going to go through the very basics of options and then why I like selling options more than buying options. But we'll also talk about why buying options is valuable. But to me, I'm more of a seller than a buyer of these options. So we'll talk about that. Luna says, why not take profit and tighten the spread right now? Don't want to pay tax. Yes, I don't want to pay tax because this expires in 2026. And also, there's a lot more room for it to run. I mean, like we're up 16 grand. We could be up 50 grand by the end of the year if it hits 20, which I do think is possible. Please cover the rationale between rolling and closing. Yes, we will talk about that. I'm gonna literally make a PowerPoint, and we're literally gonna have slides, so you can strap in, and we're gonna make it as basic as possible. Ruda, thank you for the 50 super chat. When is the degen session? It's a good question. It's a very good question. I don't know because I'm not as degen, but when I decide, I got to do some degen plays on earnings, bro. We got to get some like 0 DTEs on earnings just to make it spicy and fun. Maybe SMCI is the degen play, dude, just to match Chris and Steve. And then if it tanks, I get to blame them and they'll never hear the end of it. If SMCI tanks on earnings, these three will never hear the end of it from me. But I've got to lose some money to actually give me a reason to be upset at them. So maybe that's when we do the degen play, right before SMCI earnings. And maybe they're right. Maybe this thing goes to 50 and then the degen play works out. SoFi, does it want 18? 1764. Let me check resistance at 18 Dolores for SoFi. 129,000 shares. Not crazy. 129,000 shares. Not too bad. No Tesla plays from Derek today. I gotta ask if he bought anything. I mean, he still has those 380 calls. He might DCA into them today, to be honest. But yeah, we gotta have a degen session with Derek. That would be the perfect person to do it with. Okay, we got Steve Mnuchin with some thoughts on TikTok and the economy. This was Trump's former White House dude who was covering a lot about the economy. But let me pull this up. I think he was, yeah, the U.S. Treasury Secretary. Let's get the TikTok thoughts first, and then we'll get into the rest of the economy stuff. Let's see.
Stephen, to come back and just end on TikTok if we can. I mean, you pursued it to some extent, and then obviously I assume that effort went on hold. Have you resumed sort of putting together, potentially having the money available should the opportunity arise?
Well, we only put it on hold because it was clear that China was not willing to negotiate. And now that President Trump is willing to look at a deal, obviously we're going to follow this very closely over the next 75 days. And we'd be very interested in investing in the business. It's a terrific business. And we'd have a technology plan to rebuild the technology.
Right. I mean, you're not alone, obviously. Yet the price tag could be enormous, couldn't it? I mean, again, based on the opportunity there for TikTok US and some of the others as well around the world.
Well, I think TikTok US is worth a lot of money. It's a great business, and if it's managed correctly, and it can grow into other areas such as e-commerce and expand in the US, it's a terrific business. On the other hand, I think that it does have national security issues. There's no way that China would let any of the U.S. companies operate in this way. Elon commented that.
Now, last night, Trump's response to a reporter about the the issues with it from a national security perspective was basically that TikTok only has the kids' data, and so it's not that big of a deal. I think Trump kind of said it in passing, and he didn't really go that in depth in it. But basically, he was like, "Well, it's just kids' data, so it's not that serious." Which you can make an argument that there's some merit for the fact that keeping our relationship with China is important, and that is not that big of a deal. I think other people will say, "Well, wait a second, China has access to the kids, then that's not the best thing in the world." But it seems like Trump is gung ho on keeping TikTok, and he's going to find whatever argument he has to justify it. But it doesn't seem like TikTok's necessarily leaving that easily.
Back in the White House, Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin joins us now. Stephen, great to have you. Want to get your take on so many things, but starting with TikTok, because it's kind of one of the last conversations we had on air.
Bill talked a little bit about the Oracle and the Safe Cloud, but
into any sort of a transaction?
I think it's something that can get done. It will take time. And the unfortunate part was that ByteDance didn't engage in this while there was time under the law. So it clearly will take time to rebuild the technology. The technology can be rebuilt. The algorithms can stay in China. And I'm hopeful President Trump, who's the consummate deal maker, can get a deal done.
Well, Steve, it's Jim. It's great to have you on the show. Great to talk to you.
Good to see you as well.
Okay, so let's talk about interest rates and spending. I keep hearing from so many guests, because of how much debt we have, because of how much spending we have, interest rates have to shoot up. I know you know rates. I know you know rates from New York Community Bank. I trust your judgment on this. Do rates have to soar under President Trump?
Well, first, let me say, I think on top of the agenda has to be government spending, whether that's done by DOGE or whether that's done, more importantly, within the administration. We had to spend a lot of money in COVID, but since then, the government spending has just gotten out of control, and the size of the deficits. We have to get this back in line to a reasonable level relative to GDP. I'm hopeful that President Trump can pass the tax cuts, which will continue to grow the economy and bring this down. I think 10-year treasuries of about 4.5% are about right. I think you'll see the Fed over time bring short-term rates down to 3.5%. It may take them some time, but I'm less concerned about inflation. But I think given the size of the treasury borrowings, I think the long-term rates are about right where they are.
The 10-year is down nicely, folks. We're getting a little recovery in the markets, 4.556, which is very, very nice. That is coming down, and I'm happy about that, but the market's also pretty happy about that as well. If that doesn't spike back up to 4.8, I think we're good. 1766 on SoFi. Rocket Lab 3120 hit 3148 at one point. So this stock has taken on a complete life of its own right now, up 30% on the day. SoFi up 7%. You don't get that many 7% days out of SoFi. This is kind of like back to back up 7%. So SoFi as well taking on a new life of its own. And then you got SMCI at 31.45. That's up 2%. Tempest still up 32%. That's still the winner of the day. Google at 200. Bitcoin at 103. The Bitcoin stock's still getting a hit for whatever reason. MSTR down 4.3%. Fartcoin is fighting back. That is correct. That one is now down 15% instead of 25% today. Dude, not bad. Not bad. Why is Quantum running? I don't know. It's running, though. It's definitely running. Rigetti, 24%. Dude, again, this is so weird because Jensen's having that quantum AI day or whatever, and like that's probably going to be bullish. We're definitely risk on. That's bullish. S&P is above 6,000. That's bullish. And then in general, maybe there is a broader thesis around quantum, even if these stocks don't have cash flows yet. That's getting the market excited. I know Skrelly, though, has to be down millions on his short. This guy is pretty adamant that quantum is a scam, or at least these stocks are a scam. This is what he tweeted just now. Like, he is not happy about this one. He said, another day that IONQ and Rigetti are shitty, tiny quantum companies are offline, but the stocks are up. This is one of the best shorts I've ever seen in my career. We are further away from quantum than I thought. Check out the Los Alamos roadmap from a while back for a laugh. Basically saying all the quantum computers are not even online on AWS, yet their stocks are pumping, which means there's a disconnect between the actual utility of the qubits versus the prices. But I don't know, bro. When someone gets this aggressive for shorting a name, and you have a community that's like, we've seen this with GameStop, right? You got a lot of people that are just going to use him as their North Star to like squeeze. And you could get a pump just off the idea that people don't want to see Skrelly make money on the short side. Tesla still down 2.8%. SoFi now 1771. It touched back at 1762. Robinhood giving back all of its gains, which I actually don't hate. I actually like that Robinhood's just chilling out for a bit. Robinhood does not need to run to 50. I mean, it was at $38 on Monday. It's at $48 today. It does not need to go to $58 tomorrow. So I actually like that Robinhood's going flat and just chilling out in this range. That's very reasonable in my opinion. But that one has had a really strong move from last week. The rest of these names are having pretty strong moves today. HIM's up 5%, Reddit up 5%, Rocklib up 30%, and then SoFi right here up 6.64%. Yeah, I don't think Hood going red here is weird at all. I think you guys got to remember 38 was on Monday on Hood. It's at 48. Like it doesn't need to get to 50, 55 that quick. And I really don't want them to, because that just levels the expectations way too high going into earnings. Like already the market's expecting damn near 950 million in revenue. Like they've got to show that number. They've got to show January growth, and then they've got to keep moving, but they cannot get there that quickly. Otherwise it really messes up the risk to reward on these. Also, it gives us more time to get some cheap shares, cheap leaps if it just consolidates here. I want it to consolidate above 45. That's what I care about. I want 45 to be support. And for that to happen, we need some days of closing above 45 or some weeks. And that would make me feel more comfortable with the consolidation. Is Apple ever getting back to 250? Probably, but I don't know how they get there. Wow, it's down 4%. 220 on Apple. What an absolute mess since New Year's Eve. 260 to 220. Apple's a big stock in the market, bro. That's not supposed to happen that easily. Granted, everyone and their mother knew at 260 this thing did not deserve to be worth almost $4 trillion. But there you go. And it feels so obvious, right? Like it was so obvious that no one's upgrading to the iPhone. Like it was just so damn obvious that people just aren't upgrading. And so obviously the numbers wouldn't be good. And now the street's kind of figuring it out. Buffett must have sold more. I mean, look, I would not surprise me when that 13F comes out and we see Buffett say, yeah, we're done with Apple. I mean, it makes sense. They've held it for 10 years. They made their money on it. It's not like there's that much upside. I mean, it really does make sense, bro. What is Apple going to come out with that makes Buffett regret that he's out of Apple? I can't think of it. Maybe I don't understand Apple well enough, but like, I would imagine that Buffett realizes that profits here are not the worst thing in the world. I wouldn't short Apple. Again, you just don't short a company like Apple with the amount of money. It's hard to short them or even bet against them, but I don't think you get excited to buy it. Apple needs to have fart coin on the balance sheet. Dude, well, this is what all the Bitcoin maxis that say you need to save your balance sheet with Bitcoin. Apple has so much money. Even $1 billion of Bitcoin is not crazy in my opinion. And if they were to put it on the balance sheet, who knows? That could potentially, but they'll never do that because they have so many institutional shareholders that probably wouldn't want that type of volatility. But I don't think it's that volatile just to have 1 out of 100 billion in Bitcoin. But Tim Cook's not doing that. SoundHound is up. Yes, SoundHound is running 14%. So the spec names are definitely having a good day. The spec names are, all the quantum names are good. Outside of MicroStrategy and GameStop, the other ones are good. Oklow's great. Archer's back up 10%. It was just up 1%, so it just moved 8% in like basically 20 minutes. Big Bear's up 11%. SoundHound's up 15%. Quantum's green. And Energy Infrastructure as well. Enbridge, ET, KMI also having a decent day. I mean, you don't watch a lot of sports, so you don't just see how many of those iPhone ads were run and how bad they were. I've seen some iPhone ads like on YouTube, but I agree they're not necessarily the best ads. Usually an Apple ad is like some pump music in the background, and then like kind of showing off the phone, and they do like this 360 camera angle. Or they started doing more emotional ones, right? Like a grandma who like can't hear that well, and she's using Apple Health or something. It's just not enough, bro. People need a reason to upgrade, and the advertising is not going to do it. And a foldable phone is not going to do it either. Rocklab up 30%. Correct. Rocklab is up 30%. Covered calls are getting challenged for sure today. 31.18 on Rocket Lab. Apple's main source of revenue is the iPhone. That's correct. When do you think Apple will up their innovation? I don't know. It's like, it's so weird, bro. I feel like I was on an island when the Vision Pro came out, and I was like, I'm the amount of debates we had on Finance Junkies where I was like, dude, this is not interesting at all. Like, this is just like, no one's wearing this. No one's wearing it every day. Like, there's no way this is happening. And I was like, am I crazy, or is everyone else crazy saying that, no, this is gonna be a thing? And it's not a thing. So if it's not the Vision Pro, if it's not a new phone, if it's not an iPad, if it's not a new MacBook, if it's not new AirPods, if it's not services, if it's not buybacks, what the hell is it? If it's not an EV, if it's not a humanoid robot, which if that's, going to happen, it's at least 5 years away. Like, really, what is it? You know what it is? It's dividends. Start giving us a nice 3 to 4% divvy, and that'll help Apple. But outside of that, I don't know. Go as Dan Ives. No, see, I've disagreed with Dan Ives on that. He thinks it's he thinks it's an upgrade cycle in China. He thinks there's 250 million people that are going to buy new phones. And I respect Dan Ives a lot, but why? Why would they buy new phones? Like, what's the logic behind it? I think that is the hard part to come to a broader conclusion for. RDW is up 30%. Yeah, Redwire, another space name. All of the space names are catching a bit today. All of them. And it might be because of what Trump said, but it also might be just because of that Rocket Lab upgrade kind of highlighting the space industry is getting love. Wow, it's beating Rocket Lab today, up 36%. Goodness gracious, bro. Space is getting a bid. Apple Watch with healthcare could be innovative. It could, but how do they monetize that, right? Like that, like if they make the iPhone, oh wow, here's a headline: Justin Bieber just unfollowed Hailey Bieber on Instagram. Oh, never mind. He said I got hacked. Someone went on my account and unfollowed my wife. That's a headline, bro. Justin and Hailey, bro. If that breakup would, I'm just saying that's like CPI J-Pound news. That's big. But anyway, like who the hell cares? But what was I even saying? I was saying, like, I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying about? Oh yeah, the health. So like, if Apple makes the health thing more innovative, like that means you would buy a new iPhone. But is that enough of a reason to? Because they're not going to charge you XYZ dollars per month for health features. They would just make it part of the iPhone, and you get more excited to get the latest version. Because I don't think anyone's going to pay that much money for extra health features. But they're not making the phone that much more attractive to buy. That's the problem. That is the problem. Dude, Tem is up almost 40%. Nancy doesn't lose, bro. Holy crap. Goodness gracious, dude. Every time, every freaking time. This thing has not moved 40% ever. Like, it's not happening for any other reason besides Nancy. 7 billion market cap. They're not profitable yet. I'll deep dive into them. I'll see if there's anything exciting here. Dude, the Hailey Justin stuff is big news, bro. Because look, if you've been following the thing for a long time, he was supposed to be with Selena. He was that was supposed to be the soulmate, and then he ended up going with even I didn't like that, bro. He broke up with Selena, and 3 months later he married Hailey. It's like, what? You don't break up with like a 7-year relationship and then marry someone 3 months later. Like, I always was like, what? Like, how does that happen? Big news, bro. If they break up, it's big news. You're a finance channel. I know, but still, bro. Like, that's like, that matters for the economy. Because then, let's see how much I can bullshit this. If Justin Bieber breaks up with Hailey, then he's inspired to make music. We get a new album. The album then allows more revenue for the record labels. They pay more taxes. There you go. Bada boom, bada bing. We got more money in tax revenue. All right. Anyway, tech CEOs at Davos. Let's get an update on that.
Someone you know well, Mr. Friedman of Canyon Partners, someone who you've spoken to quite recently, and he said that the inauguration felt like a commercial for all the best of the United States of America, all the CEOs from the biggest tech firms. Joe Biden, the former president, has said something different. He said an oligarchy is taking shape. How do you see things?
Well, I don't want to side with either side and say either person is right.
You know both of them.
Right. I would say that clearly there are a lot of technology people that are involved with Donald Trump, and they were very visible at the inauguration. You could see the most visible people at the inauguration right behind the president when he was being sworn in were the tech CEOs. The finance CEOs, they must have been in Wall Street doing deals, or maybe they're in Davos.
We should get a CARP interview at Davos soon. Hopefully. We should get it. Also with Andrew Ross Sorkin, they do one every year. So I would imagine that's happening either today or tomorrow, but we should get a new CARP interview pretty soon.
They weren't there. There's no doubt that business people have become very important in the American economy in the last couple of years because of technology. There's no doubt about it. This is true for President Biden, President Trump. The technology companies in the United States are not only dominant in the United States, they're dominant in the world. So if you live anywhere in the world today, can you get through get through the day without using American technology? Almost everybody in the world is using either Amazon or an Apple or Facebook or Google, and European technologies are not quite like that, and even the Asian technology, with the exception of TikTok, isn't really prevalent. So the American technology leaders have become important business leaders, not only in the United States, but all over the world. And they're more than business leaders, they've become like folk heroes in some ways. People that started these companies, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, among others, and the late Steve Jobs. These are like people much larger than life figures. And I'm not surprised that President Trump would want to involve them. And I think President Biden did meet with them as well.
Mark Zuckerberg said recently in a podcast with Joe Rogan that he felt like the European regulators were going after the US tech firms, and the US administration was giving the Europeans cover to do that. Do you sense a shift where we are now celebrating our national champions under Donald Trump in a way that maybe we haven't done over the last 4 years?
Well, I think all presidents want to celebrate American technologies. I'm not sure exactly what Mark Zuckerberg is referring to, so I can't comment on that. But there's no doubt that when you have American technology companies that are very dominant, Google is another one that had a lot of problems in Europe, you expect Europeans to maybe regulate because they're not happy with the fact that American companies are dominating their technology. Europe and France really invented the internet. They had a kind of an internet before we had the internet, but they kind of lost it. And as a result, today, think of a European technology that you need to get through the day. There's virtually none of them. So I'm not surprised that Europe is upset about it, but Europe is an important ally for the United States, so I don't expect that.
Rolex, Cartier.
Well,
quite literally need them to get through the day.
If you want to have a great summer vacation, there is no place better in the world than the Mediterranean or Europe. And the museums are great, the food's great, the people are friendly, everything's wonderful. But if you really want to build a great technology company, many of the great technology leaders are moving to the United States from India or from Europe.
So there's a larger question here about how much we've priced in the U.S. market, tech market, divorcing from China at a time when it seems like maybe that's not exactly Donald Trump's plan. And I wonder whether that might be the surprise, actually a shift toward a more amenable approach toward China than currently this market is expecting.
I can't speak for Donald Trump, obviously, and he changes his mind when he feels it's appropriate to do so. He's a very transaction-oriented person. I wouldn't say he's as ideological as transaction-oriented. That would be my perception. And therefore, if he can get a deal with the Chinese on something that would be helpful to the United States, I think he'll do that. I've read that he wants to move there and get there relatively quickly and have a meeting with Xi Jinping. I think that'd be a good idea. But I think it's too early to say whether China is going to go down and the United States is going to go up in terms of their fight between each other, whether it's going to be large tariffs. I think the Secretary of Treasury said, designate, that the tariff policy is a maximalist policy, which is to say it's to be used in negotiating positions. So I suspect that will be what Donald Trump does, and his people negotiate and have the threat of tariffs, but maybe not impose them.
Well,
and that's what the market's thinking as well, that there is not going to be an imposement of tariffs, but the threat will be good enough to get some deals done. Tesla still down 3%. HIMS is up 4%. Rock Lab 28%. Apple down 4%. Temp is still up 38%. Hoodie 48.57. Palantir 72.27. SMCI up 1.4%. And then Nvidia basically is up 1% on the day. Not too bad. Not too bad. Thoughts on Micron? Again, I just don't understand if memory storage is going to be as commoditized as we think it is. I mean, like the answer to that question is yes, but the problem is if NVIDIA is going to be using Micron for a lot of their memory needs, even if it's a commoditized space, Micron might be catching the bid. Now, the problem was last quarter, they missed revenue expectations by $1 billion, which is not low when it comes to guidance. So as much as I want to say they are kind of in a great situation with Nvidia, I'm also scared that they're not going to match expectations for the street. Given the stock was at like $30, people forget Micron was in the gutter a year and a half ago. And so it's made a nice move. It just made also a pretty bad move from 150 back down to like 85. So I don't know. I wouldn't buy Micron. If I'm going to buy semis, I'm buying Nvidia. It's the easiest one to kind of wrap your head around. But it's not like there's a horrible thesis on Micron. 10 years still green, red, 4.56. That's good. Dollar still down, at least for today. Also, someone was talking about Bank of Japan. Again, if they raise rates, which Bloomberg is saying there's an 80% chance, I don't think that's a bad thing. That gets the dollar to come down. I don't know how much Trump is okay with the dollar coming down, because he did say last night he likes when the dollar is strong, but nonetheless, he does need to acknowledge that we're going to be in a trade deficit for a lot longer if our dollar doesn't come down. So we're going to have to see over the next couple months what he does about that. Nubank is up a little bit as well. Nubank right here. Wow, no, it gave back its gains. A lot of stocks giving back their gains today. A lot of stocks giving back some of their gains today. He said he wants the dollar to come down. Yeah, he does. But then he also said yesterday it's good if we have a strong dollar, which is, you get sometimes conflicting statements from Trump. But I remember I was covering it live when he said that, and I saw that dollar spike up a little bit. So it's really going to depend on how the market interprets what he actually says. Yeah, we're going to get more executive orders at 4 p.m. So I'll be live on the market close. We're going to get a ton of executive orders as we get into the close. A lot of it, I believe, is on infrastructure. I don't think it's going to be on crypto. If it is, that'd be great. But I don't think that's going to happen on crypto. The dollar can come down and still be strong. That's fair. That's fair. The dollar's just absurdly high right now. It can come down, from 108 to 105 and still be very strong and still be good for U.S. trade. So that's actually a fair point. Yesterday was the 19th anniversary of High School Musical. Wow. I might have to watch it again, bro. Might have to watch it again. I'm not going to say my take that gets everyone pissed off. I'm not even going to mention it again about High School Musical. If you know my take, you know my take. I'm not going to have to say it again. But shout out to HSM. GOAT movie. GOAT movie. Amit, I'll help you BS. If Justin Bieber comes out with a new album and he does a tour like Taylor Swift, he could change the GDP of every city she had a tour. So that's why it's economic news. See, I should have thought of that. That's a good idea. Justin Bieber goes on tour. GDP growth, baby. GDP growth. That is an argument. Amit is an industry plant. That's so wild, bro. You hear that for music all the time where you're like an industry plant. But like for finance YouTubers, I've never heard of like you're an industry plant. Could you imagine, bro? There's industry plants in finance news. That's wild. That would be hilarious. I know you were joking, but that's hilarious. Oh, by the way, Grindr, they updated. Are they up to date? Yeah, they're up 1% because they unveiled their strategic vision for 2025. And let me read what they said. I think they're going to grow 30%. I think they're going to be profitable. So I think they still will have some momentum this year. I don't have a price target on Grindr though, but I don't know. Got in at 14. I think that's a decent entry. Grindr plans to launch 6 new products in 2025, including AI-driven personalization tools like chat summaries and match recommendations, travel-focused updates while featuring a Explore heat map and a travel pass for 2024 easier connections. They highlighted the Right Now feature, global rollout of Roam, set the stage for upcoming changes. CEO emphasized their goal to enhance user experience and expand its offerings, and AI and travel is going to be the focus for 2025. Look, I know people like to make fun of Grindr, but they have 14.2 million monthly actives, and they're able to monetize them because Tinder and Bumble are just not good business models. They make some money, but they don't have the monopoly that is necessary on a certain sector or demographic to then get them the growth. So that is the thesis on Grindr. Just a question of if they execute towards that. A mid-ball Grindr due to the Peter Lynch philosophy. Goodness, dude. I don't know. It's a small position. It's nothing serious, but it'd be fun if that thing like gaps up to 25 this year just because they're more profitable. Is that it, guys? I think that's pretty much all the news today. Nothing too crazy. I mean, on the market close, we got a lot of stuff to talk about with earnings. Tony, thank you for the $5 super chat. Appreciate that. Thank you for the $4.99. Appreciate that, Tony. So I think on the market close, we'll talk about Netflix and United Airlines and all the other companies that have earnings. We're going to cover the earnings, and then we're going to get into Technical Tuesday by 4:30, which is actually good because Netflix's earnings call is really boring. We tried listening to it last time, and it's just so boring, bro. Like, it's an amazing company, but the earnings call is so boring. So Netflix, IBKR, Capital One, and United Airlines. Those are the four big companies after the bell. Financials. You got IBKR, which is also financials, but in the brokerage space. United, which should be good after American Airlines. And then Netflix, which is big tech. So we do have a jam-packed day. And then at 4:30, we'll have Jason on, and we will get into Technical Tuesday. That's pretty much it. Bitcoin is spiking a little bit. Bitcoin giving us some love right here. 105. Wow, 103 to 105. Where's MSTR? MSTR giving back a little bit of some green here. It was down 5%. Now it's down 3%. We're getting a decent amount of green candles. Tesla as well rebounding a little bit. Hood 48.87, trying to get back to 49. Rivian down 6%. Palantir 1.4. SMCI up 3%, and then Google 199.3. Joby as well. Up 12% along with Archer. And then Bitcoin at 105. Not bad. Oh yeah, Square. They have a new ticker, right? Hold on. XYZ. Dude, this is so dumb. This is so dumb. XYZ up 2%. Who knows? Maybe it'll be better than Square. Maybe it'll be better. All right. Cool. Okay, so that's the end of the market close. I'll talk a little bit about the meetup that we had over the weekend. I know we have some questions here in the chat. And then I'll be back on the market close. But that is pretty much it for the market open. So someone said in the chat, Amit, if you do another meetup, make sure you do it in Jersey City. I learned a lot over the weekend, and there are plenty of ideas I have now for this meetup series. And so I think it'll actually be really fun. Again, for those that didn't see pictures, these were the pictures that we put out on Twitter. Very, very cool. This was Scarlett, just such a wholesome, wonderful sweetheart. Knitted me. I was wearing this yesterday the entire day. The scarf is also really nice, bro. The scarf is like really thick, and it's just like, it makes you feel warm, especially given how cold New Jersey is. There's a woman who started buying Palantir at $7, has not sold a single share, and she knitted that, which is just insane. Just insane. So absolutely incredible. And then, yeah, there's a lot of pictures. It was a great event. And I think we have some really, really good ideas for how to make this even better going into the rest of the year. Is Bitcoin trying to get to 106? Wow, bro. What a candle. Holy crap. 106 on Bitcoin. My goodness. It was at 102, like literally 15 minutes ago. That's got to get MicroStrategy to get a little bit more green here. That is incredible. MSTR right here. Yeah, starting to get green, even though it's still red. Hoodie, I imagine. Yeah, there you go. Hood back at 49. Back at 49 on that. If we can get some support at 105 on Bitcoin, that would be fun. If we can stop playing in the 90s, I think we need that Trump strategic reserve statement to get us over the top, but that would be amazing. Bitcoin right there, 105.9 right now. When DC? So we'll see if we do DC. I don't know if there's that many people to be able to do DC, but I do think there's going to be a decent chunk of folks that are in DC. I think Boston's going to be next on the East Coast, and then California, obviously, tomorrow. Or not tomorrow. I'm so excited for the meetups. I'm ready to go tomorrow. California in February. I have to buy my ticket, though, because we're like 2 weeks away, so I do have to get my ticket. But yeah, Bay Area, Palo Alto will be the next one in February. Palo Alto. And then we'll do Boston probably in March. And I'm thinking Miami, April or May. And then maybe Houston and Dallas as well in that springtime. It does seem like a lot of you guys are in DC. And DC is easy for me. That's like 4 hours away. So DC is actually really simple to do. We'll do Las Vegas. That'll be on there. Toronto's on the list. I just like, dude, I like, it's hard to describe the energy that was at this meetup, but it was different, bro. It was really different. And the reason I think it was different is because everyone like already cared about the topics that we were there to talk about, which is essentially the stock market. So because everyone was there and the energy was so strong, like, you know, people were just able to connect irrespective of me talking to every single person. And like this guy, shout out to Ash, brought his girlfriend there. But that's crazy, bro. People brought their girlfriend. Shout out to Paula. She brought her daughter, Madison, to the event. And Madison doesn't really like care too much about the market, but her mom does. And she's getting into the market because her mom watches the stream. I mean, it was just so cool. It was just so freaking cool. And I think across the entire world, we can do this and just make it super fun. These two kids, these guys, seniors in college, freaking loaded up on MSTR at the bottom, made a shit ton of money. I mean, like, kids are moving fast, bro. They are moving so fast in this new era. And they're not waiting for anyone's permission. They're just go, 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 go. This guy right here in the middle wrote up a 20-page thesis on MicroStrategy 8 months ago and got his entire dorm to invest in it. Like, dude, if I had friends in college that would write up a thesis on a stock and whatever money I had, I could just dump it in and trust my friend and I would be up a ton of, like, this is what's happening. This is the new era. This is the way the world is working now. So it's super, super, super exciting. And then we'll do Europe in the summer for sure. So Robinhood's having that event in France. So we're definitely going to do Europe in the summer. And wow, Bitcoin 106.4. We're going to use the France Robinhood event as an excuse to come to Europe. I'm going to make like a real 3-week trip out of it. So we'll do the Robinhood event, but then I'll travel around Europe, and I think it'll be fun there as well. Bsoft says it was so much fun, like talking stocks at a bar. First time in my life I've been able to do it. It was amazing. Yeah, dude, it was fun, bro. Someone told me there was this ex-Wall Street guy at the bar who was not part of the meetup, and he saw all of us talking about it. And then he started asking people like, hey, why are you guys investing in Palantir? And it was so funny because it's just a random dude who's like used to work on Wall Street, and he's like hearing us talk about stocks at a bar, and he probably, you know, doesn't hear that happen often. So it was so cool. It was so cool. Yeah, Bsoft, I have the video of us taking a shot. I'm going to post it eventually. I didn't get to post it yet, but I'll post that video of us taking a shot. We took picklebacks at one of the bars, and people, oh, the sake one. Do we have that video? Did we record? I don't know if we recorded that one. I know we recorded the pickleback one. I don't know if I recorded the sake one. I might have. I have to check. And then I'll post that. I'll post that later. Bitcoin 106.2. Amazing. Yes, the UK is happening. If nothing happens in Europe, the number one that's happening is the UK, because I know most of you guys are in London. So the UK is absolutely happening no matter what. Hopefully we can get Spain and Italy and some of the other ones, but the UK, no matter what, that is definitely going to be happening. You ruined that girl's birthday party. Okay, yeah. So there was a private lounge at the back of the bar, and this girl was having a birthday party, but we monopolized the lounge with like 50 people. And they had another lounge. It just wasn't as big as our lounge. And I think they were kind of upset, but like it was first come, first serve. And like they didn't have if they had a reservation, we would have left, but they didn't have a reservation. So we got really lucky, bro. We got to have a really good networking event with a lot of space. And this birthday party didn't get to that lounge, but still. Now I know though how to do this. Like now I know, all right, I'm going to book a place that has a lounge for like 4 or 5 hours, and it'll be just like private in the back, and we can order drinks, order food, and then everyone gets to have a good time. So this gave me a really good understanding of how to do this in the future as well. Amit is so rude. She probably cried. No, bro. I asked her to take a picture of us to add insult to injury. I was like, hey, can you take a picture of us? She was a good sport. So, you know, even if she was upset that she didn't get the access to the space, she was the one who took the picture. So, but it was fun. It was really, 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 really fun. Does the guy who wrote the 20-page thesis on MSTR have an X account? Yes. I'm going to link it right now. I'm sure he would love to come on the stream. So I should definitely hit him up and get him on the stream. His name is Miko. Literally, look, this is how you know he's a MicroStrategy bull. This is his Twitter bio. MSTR bull. Like, dude, these kids, bro, 19-year-old kids. And by the way, I think he's working at an investment bank next year when he graduates from college. So this guy's he's going to become a suit next year, and he's all in MSTR. Like, that's crazy, bro. When you become a suit, you go into the bond market and commodities and treasuries. You don't go all into MSTR. And he's got this degen element of him. He's like, nope, MSTR. That's what we're doing. So it was cool. It was just so cool meeting all these different people. Cactus Jack, thank you for the $10 super chat. Come to Chicago in the summer someday. I'll make you try some thin crust pizza. Definitely going to do Chicago as well. That's going to be on the list. Chicago in the summer, because New York cold is already bad, but Chicago cold, I can't even imagine. By the way, we got lucky on the cold air because New York wasn't that cold. New York was like really warm. It was a little drizzly, but outside of that, it was good. And so we got really lucky on the weather. The weather was like fantastic. But we also got lucky on the bar as well. Is Palantir back to 73? Robinhood is at, wow, 49.17. All right, back on that on Hood. And then Palantir, yeah, back to 73, 1.7%. And then Bitcoin holding 106, dude. We haven't seen 106 that many times. It was yesterday and then a couple of weeks ago. It's back to 106 is not bad. Is there a technical Tuesday today? Yes. After earnings around 4:30, we will have technical Tuesday. Japan has not raised their rates yet, but they probably will. I don't think it's going to create a carry yen trade, so I wouldn't worry about that. But that'll be happening, I think, January 24th, which is like 3 days away. They have their meeting, so soon we'll get an update on that. Where's SoFi? Are we almost at 18 on SoFi? SoFi 1766. Let me check resistance at 18. I still think it's 180,000 shares or something. 139,000 shares. It's not too crazy. Not too crazy. When are you coming to Houston? So yeah, again, so this is what I think is going to happen. I think February is going to be California. March is going to be Boston. April is going to be Houston. May is going to be Miami, and then June is going to be Chicago, and then July I think is going to be Europe. And then August, maybe Vegas or LA. Might be too hot in Vegas. And then September, Vegas. And then October, November, December, we got to figure out. But I think that's the trajectory. Maybe October is Toronto. But wherever we go, I do think I'm going to have a better plan on how to navigate it. I don't know if we're doing Portugal. I don't know if we're doing Portugal this year. Next year for sure, dude. 2025, it's the trial year of doing all these meetups. And if it goes well, then we can expand to a lot of other locations. But I'm going to try to get the really big cities this year and do that. Are you going to have a concert t-shirt? No, but you guys will get a bell from me. So that was the gift. All of you guys guessed it. So it wasn't even that much of a surprise. But everyone got a little bell from me. Andy had me sign his cowbell, which is insane. We were at the bar. He was like, I need you to sign something. I was like, what? And he takes out this loud ass cowbell. I was like, this is ridiculous, bro. This is insane. So I signed that cowbell. I like my signature, bro. I feel like my signature is pretty professional. Like I've actually worked on my signature for like 15 years. I don't know why. Like when I was 13, I kind of just liked like having a signature. And so I like as soon as he gave it to me, I was able to sign it. It's like an A and a K kind of, but it's also the rest of the letters in cursive of my name. So that was the first cowbell we signed. But then these were the smaller cowbells that I gave to everybody else. So everyone will get this if you come to the meetup. Your signature looks like a rabbit. Dude, I like it. I'm actually proud of my signature. I've legit worked on it for a long time. Like, I think there was a year when I was like in 8th grade where I was just like every day, you know, when you like doodle in class, I would literally just do my signature over and over and over. So now it's like muscle memory. Like I just know how to do my signature. And so apparently 10 years later, it was used for a cowbell. Also got new boots. So Chad hopefully should be happy. We got boots. Do you and Carp have the same hair routine? We do not, even though it looks like we do, but we do not. We got to hear from Carp at Davos, bro. Carp usually has great interviews at Davos, so we're going to keep an eye on when that one comes out. Did Palantir get the Navy contract yet? Is it officially out? We knew that Palantir was supposed to get this $1 billion deal. Is it officially out? Is it announced? I don't see anything on Twitter yet. I don't see it yet. We know that it's going to come out soon. We saw that news back in December. It's going to be a 10-year, $1 billion Navy contract. Everyone knows it's coming. We already saw the sam.gov website say that Palantir is getting it, but they have not announced it yet. I don't see the headline yet. I did not steal these cowbells from cows in India. That's a good one, though. I got it from Amazon. from Amazon. Why don't you look more at Chainlink? So look, I've heard about Chainlink. I think it's a very promising blockchain. I think there's a lot of features of it. SoFi 1770. I just don't care enough about it to get that excited. That's the only reason I haven't gone to Chainlink. But I agree. There's a lot of Chainlink bulls. I know that a lot of people feel there's a lot more utility than even Solana or Ethereum on Chainlink. I don't know. I just don't care that much about them in the crypto space. But the people have done the DD. They've done very well. I mean, Chainlink is, what is it, like a top 10 crypto by market cap, I think. Chainlink is a $16 billion market cap, so it's up there. Yeah, it's number, where is this thing? Number 11. Yeah. So it's definitely one that has utility for sure. Post the info on who made the scarf and the hat. I think she's on Twitter. I have her number. I'm going to try to see if she's on Twitter. Her name is Scarlett. And I'll put her Twitter in the chat once I find her Twitter. But she's just a really, really nice woman. And I don't know if she tweets or anything, but I'll get her Twitter if she's on there. And I'll post it as well. Yo, shout out to Miko. What's up, bro? He said my Twitter just blew up and I was wondering if it was you. Yes, we were talking about you, bro. We got to get you on the show. People want to hear your, ever since I said this 19-year-old kid had a 20-page thesis on MSTR, they're like, all right, we want to hear the thesis. So Miko, we gotta find a day you're free. Hop on the stream for like 10 minutes. And we got to get your MSTR thesis. Ask her to make more and start a merch store. Dude, she crushed it. It was such a good beanie and scarf. It was great. Amit, did you buy SoFi? No, I didn't buy SoFi. Not yet. Didn't buy anything today. Nvidia, Google, Amazon. I'll let you guys know when I buy them, but have not bought. The goal is to buy them. Honestly, just following Nancy on it, but have not made any big buys today. Also, it's super green. I mean, you tend to not really need to buy on a green day. You wait for a little bit of red. But on SoFi, I don't know. I think SoFi is breaking out. I think it's breaking out before earnings. And if they deliver that monster quarter, maybe the 20s becomes the new normal for SoFi. 1773, dude. 7% is amazing. That's back-to-back days for SoFi at up 7%, which is incredible. We will do Dallas and Austin and Texas as well. I think I'm going to make a full week out of it. So it'll be Houston for Roy and Matt Money and all those guys that are down there, but we'll do Dallas and Austin as well. I got to figure it out. Basically, what this weekend told me is that I'm traveling a lot this year. That's what it told me. It told me that every single month there's going to be at least a week that I'm out of the house. And so there's going to be a decent amount of traveling that's happening this year. All right, guys, that's it for me. We'll be back on the market close. Let's do word of the day, and we will get out of here. Again, super, super grateful for the meetup. It went better than I could have expected. I did not expect that many people to be there and just be such amazing, amazing human beings. And I got to interrogate everyone. And I told you guys I would ask questions, and every single person I asked them at least 5 to 10 questions about why they watch the stream, what value they get out of it. I wanted to know all the details of like, all right, so are you making coffee in the morning and you're watching? Like, I just wanted to envision what is it like when you're consuming the content. And I got a lot of good feedback. One actionable piece of feedback that I'm going to try to implement starting next week is that a lot of you guys hate that the stream starts and it's like 15 seconds into the stream because of the YouTube delay. And like you missed the good morning and everything. So a lot of people said, what if you just do an intro? And that intro could be 15 to 30 seconds. And then once the intro is done, then you hop on. And I think it makes sense because it gives everyone time in those 15 to 30 seconds to just get ready for the stream versus immediately you pop into the beginning of talking. And so I'm going to try to make an intro this weekend, hopefully as good as the Jason intro we have. Justin Bieber is not going to be the intro song. And that way you don't miss the beginning 20 seconds. Because I know I could tell that has to be annoying for a lot of people, especially if they want to start the stream immediately. So it's not about just being on time. It's not that. There is a legit delay, not even with StreamYard, but with YouTube. YouTube has a 15-second delay. I found out it's not StreamYard. So it's not even about being on time. It's just whenever I start, even if I'm late, you're not going to get the stream until 15 to 20 seconds later. And that's where the intro could kind of be a remedy there. All right, word of the day is fribble.
Fribble.
To act in a foolish or frivolous manner. The kindergartner likes to fribble at the piano, fervently playing random notes. The kids spent their free time fribbling on social media. I'll just say, if you were fribbling into this Trump coin over the weekend, it was definitely a bit frivolous, but maybe that Trump coin actually ends up going back to 75, even though it's down 50%. We're going to see. We're going to see over the next few months or few years to see how this ends up playing out. All right, that is it. Thank you, everybody. Yes, Jason will be on today. We got Netflix earnings and then Jason, so 4:30. And yeah, big market close today. We get tech earnings that officially begin, and then next week we have Tesla, Microsoft, Amazon, JPal, SoFi. I mean, next week's going to be insane. So we got a lot to get into, but we'll be back later throughout the day. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Again, thank you to everyone who came to the meetup. It was absolutely incredible, super special. We'll be doing a lot more of these meetups, and I think it'll be fun. It'll be community in real life events every month across the world this year, and then we'll keep it going in 2026. And I think it'll be really fun. It'll be exciting, and it'll be a way for us all to connect in person. All right, that's it. Thank you, guys. I'll see you guys on the market close. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.